Welcome to Corvallis, Oregon. You're watching the Pac-12 on ESPN. Some Pac-12 baseball for you on this Saturday night. A beautiful night for ball in Corvallis. At Goss Stadium, the defending national champions, the Oregon State Beavers, ranked number 4 in the country this year, going for the 3-game sweep of the Arizona Wildcats here tonight. A look at the Pac-12 standings. And Oregon State right now trailing David Esker's Stanford Cardinal, who lead the conference. And then the number 1 team in the country is in 3rd place right now in the Pac-12. Along with national champion from the University of Arizona, Wes Clements, Roxy Bernstein with you. Critical game for Arizona. They really need to win to avoid getting swept here by Oregon State. But the Beavers, Wes, they just keep rolling.
Well, they're a dynasty, and everybody knows about this Beaver program. I mean, Pat Casey started it, and now he's handed it off. But it just keeps on rolling for Arizona. As you mentioned, the Wildcats, they need a win to salvage their slim chances of postseason berth.
Well, for Oregon State, it all centers around arguably the best player in college baseball, Adley Rutschman.
Well, Pat Casey told me a few years ago, he said he is one of the best he's ever had as a player and as a person. And you take a look at him, and arguably, Rox, he's the best player in college baseball.
Normally he catches, but tonight he's going to play first base for Oregon State. This is game 2 of a doubleheader. As game 1, Oregon State trounced Arizona. So Rutschman, who caught game 1 of the doubleheader because of a rainout here last night, will now play first base here in game 2. Again, the Beavers going for a 3-game sweep of Arizona with a win here tonight as Grant Gambrell makes the start. He has been terrific for Oregon State this season.
Well, he really has. And how about the luxury for the Beavers to roll out Grant Gambrell for game 3.
As your number 3.
As your number 3. You take a look at his numbers. Fastball 91, 96. The slurve, it's right in between that curveball and slider. He's got a plus changeup and obviously big stuff potential. I mean, he took care of the Sun Devils a couple of weekends ago, or actually last weekend, Rox. I mean, he has been stellar.
So Grant Gambrell makes the start. The junior from Clovis, down near Fresno, California. And the lineup for Jay Johnson and the Arizona Wildcats, who are at 500 on the year. They're 18-18 overall. Arizona 6-11 in Pac-12 play. Dante Williams leads it off. Matthew Dyer behind the plate. Austin Wells has got a bright future for the Arizona Wildcats. The freshman batting 3rd. Nick Quintana, who leads Arizona in home runs, batting 4th. Then you have Cameron Cannon, the shortstop. Ryan Holgate in right field, Brandon Bossier's in left, and Justin Wiley batting 8th at second base. In the DH, well, we'll figure it out when Arizona sends the DH spot to the plate.
When Jay Johnson lets us know. Hey, listen, the one thing about this Wildcat club, Roxy, they can score runs. 304 as a team, 2nd in the Pac-12. Pitching's been the issue for this club.
As Grant Gambrell kicks in the first pitch of the night, hit sharply past the diving second baseman Jake Harvey. And that's how our ball game begins. Dante Williams, the leadoff single. 1 pitch, 1 hit.
Well, nothing wrong with that. You know me, Rox. If it's down the middle, your leadoff guy, go ahead. You're not going to walk your way to stardom, are you? Well, wait, hold on. A few years ago, there was an organization you're familiar with. They thought they could.
Well,
what was their name?
They won 97 games.
What was their name?
Year.
What is it?
They won 97 games and made the playoffs last year.
Okay. Yeah, how they done in the playoffs?
Matthew Dyer, the catcher, climbs in. The sophomore from Glendale, Arizona. And Dyer began his college career at Oregon. Transferred back down to his home state. Williams, the runner at first, runs very well. And Dyer goes at the first pitch, and he pops it out of play. So interesting, Arizona coming out aggressively, going after Gambrell.
Well, listen, Gambrell, we've talked about his stuff. I mean, if Gambrell's trying to get ahead, and again, you don't know about the scouting report. I mean, there's a lot of advanced scouting reports. There's a lot of video, obviously. But if Gambrell, first inning, is trying to start ahead and get that free strike, Arizona's saying, not tonight.
Gambrell, a 1-strike pitch. 0-2 as Dyer fooled by the breaking ball.
And that's that changeup, Rocks, 82 miles an hour. I mean, that's just super.
0-2 the count. Wind blowing out toward left here at Goss Stadium.
It is beautiful here. Every time we come up, huh? Just beautiful.
Crowd, big crowd again, as usual, to see Oregon State baseball.
It's so tempting when we walk in with the tailgating. They always stop us. Always nice.
Here comes the 0-2. And Dyer late on a fastball, and Gambrell gets the strikeout.
Well, that's just some cheese on the outside part with Dyer. You're talking about Dyer hitting 389 for the Wildcats, and this will give you a pretty good idea of the fastball.
So one away, and here's Austin Wells, the first baseman. The freshman from Las Vegas, who also catches for Arizona. And Jay Johnson really excited about the future of Austin Wells.
Well, Jay told me in the offseason, he said, I'm really.
First pitch, line drive, center field, base hit. Around second, Williams racing for third. And the throw from the center fielder, Kyler McMahon, is cut by Andy Armstrong, the shortstop. And the Wildcats are in business here in the first. Runners at the corners.
They are. What I started to tell you, Jay Johnson said in the offseason, told me he was excited about this young man, and this is why. But you really love Williams. Watch Williams. And if you're out there a youngster, you don't need your third base coach if the ball's in front of you. And Williams does a great job, picks it up, and gets over to third. And just like that, the Cats set up first inning, first and third, one out.
And the dangerous Nick Quintana stepping up. And you wonder, Wes, with Arizona going after the first pitch and each of the first three hitters, will Gambrell alter the way he attacks Quintana here?
Well, if you're Quintana, you cannot go away from whatever scouting report you got. And in this situation, Rox, Quintana's got to be looking dead red right now.
There are the numbers for Quintana on the year.
Jay Johnson couldn't speak higher of this young man, could he?
Both on and off the field.
Yeah, he loves this kid. And there you go. There's your answer, Rox. You know what that? Excuse me, Rox, but that's a respect. That is just flat-out respect for Quintana.
Quintana drafted out of high school. The Red Sox took him in the 11th round.
I'm jealous.
Freshman All-American a couple of years ago. Oh, the hair?
Yeah.
The flow?
Well, I didn't even get it out of my mouth, and you knew what I was going to talk.
I know. One strike pitch. Fooling Quintana, just got a piece of it. And it's 0-2 on the Arizona third baseman.
I most certainly am jealous of that hair.
He had 293 with 6 homers as a freshman. And then last year was a first-team All-Pac-12 performer. Led Arizona with 14 home runs, 55 driven in last year. Had an on-base percentage up over 400 last year. Runners at the corners, Arizona trying to strike first against Gambrell. Nice job by Troy Claunch catching tonight behind the plate.
Something about catching, right? For the Beavers, it's just always textbook.
Whether it's Rutschman, whether it was Logan Ice before him. That was the first ball, by the way, that he's thrown. 1-2 on Nick Quintana. Dante Williams at third, Austin Wells at first base. Gambrell's 1-2. Got him. Chased the breaking ball, dipping down and away.
Well, he took a little bit off. And what you really like about Gambrell is that he changes speeds on his off-speed pitches. He might throw an 84-mile-an-hour slider, and then this one right here ends up at 82, and it's right on the outside part, perfectly located.
2 down, that leaves it up to Cameron Cannon, batting a robust .363. 5 homers, 33 batted in. For the junior from Glendale, Arizona. Runners at the corners for Arizona. Be a big lift for Gambrell to strand those runners if he can get out of it.
And conversely, it'd be a big lift for the Wildcats if they can get a 2-out RBI.
Those are so huge, as you know. Gambrell. Strike one.
Now, see, that's not a great pitch right there. It's just a hanging breaking ball. But when hitters are in the back of their mind, they're thinking 96. This guy's got 96. And then he just flips the breaking ball, even though it's a hanger.
He's thrown a first pitch strike to all 5 batters now. 1 strike pitch. Low and away. 1 ball, 1 strike against Cannon. As Cannon drafted by the Diamondbacks out of high school. Taken in the 21st round. Hit .274 as a freshman. Didn't play every day. And then last year was honorable mention all-conference, hit .321, led Arizona doubles and runs. Gambrell, the 1-1. Strike called, it's 1-2.
That's what you get, right? After 3 straight breaking balls? Or actually 2 straight? Yeah, it is. You get a couple slow 82-mile-an-hour breaking balls on the backside, and then, yeah, you know what? Let me just mix in 94, 93, the knees.
Just because I can.
Because I can, that's correct.
9th start of the year for Gambrell. 48 strikeouts coming in 41 1/3. 1-2. Low and away. Delayed steal getting caught in a rundown is Wells, and the throw back to the plate, and Dante Williams scores. So the double steal and the delayed steal works, and the Arizona Wildcats are on the board.
Well, if you haven't watched the Arizona Wildcats under Jay Johnson, he's got a bag of tricks, and that is exactly what this is, Rox. 2 strikes on the hitter. Jay's taking a chance. He's telling his runner to take off because he knows he has big-time speed in Williams at third, and that little hesitation. See, what Wells doesn't have to do there, he doesn't want him to run into a tag. He just wants him to stop and then see what the defense does, and it worked perfectly.
1-0 Cats. Austin Wells at second base, and it's 2-2 on Cameron Cannon. Gambrell fires low and away at fastball, and a full count now on Cannon. So the Wildcats getting a run here in the first. Jumping on the defending national champions here, Oregon State. Runner at second base. Wells takes his lead. And the payoff pitch, and there's on the ground right side, to his left, gobbled up on the move. Jake Harvey makes the play to retire the side. But Arizona gets a run on 2 hits. Some trickery on the delayed double steal. Arizona 1, Oregon State coming up.
College baseball is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And Old Spice. Men have skin too, you know.
Wildcats get on the board here against the defending national champion Oregon State Beavers as OSU coming to bat in the home half of the first against the lefty Andrew Nardi for Arizona, who makes the Game 3 start in this series. And Nardi, you look at his numbers, you're going, I don't know, 3-3 and a 6.63 ERA. But you talk to Jay Johnson and Arizona's pitching coach David Lawn, Nardi might have the best stuff on this Arizona staff. It's just a question of can he harness it. In the last couple of weeks, he's been really good.
Well, it really has. You take a look at his stuff, 90-91 on the fastball, the slider, and the curveball. It needs to get ahead in counts. Walks have been a concern, not just for Andrew, but for the entire Arizona Wildcats staff. I mean, they come in with a team ERA of 5.86.
And a staff that's been hit hard by injuries. So Nardi makes the start. And the junior lefty from Simi Valley, California. And the lineup for Oregon State and interim head coach Pat Bailey, Preston Jones, Jake Harvey, Adley Rutschman, Ryan Ober, the DH, Troy Claunch, Elliot Willie, Jake Dukart, Andy Armstrong, and Kyle McMahon. Batting ninth is Pat Bailey adjusting the lineup a bit with a lefty on the mound.
Well, Pat's been doing that the entire year, really. I mean, you know what's interesting about this offense? They're 10th in the Pac-12. 10th, folks, out of 11.
Jones hitting only .210 with 1 home run. And Jones takes down and in, 1 ball, 1 strike. Preston Jones, the junior from Vancouver, Washington, just across the border into Washington from Portland. So technically he's in the Portland area, even though it's in Washington.
Be careful. You know we're going to get somebody on Twitter.
1-1 pitch. Down low, 2-1. Are you worried about that?
I'm not. You should be. I'm docile on Twitter. Is that a big word for me? For me.
Did you just look it up this morning?
I just asked, is it for me?
That's an impressive word.
That's what I thought, because I saw your face. And it's like, oh, I'm kind of happy.
Nardi's 2-1 pitch. And this one skied out of play. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Preston Jones, leading it off for Oregon State. Jones playing in left field. Academic honorable mention all-conference. Last year hit .288 with a home run. Made just 13 starts in the national championship season. The pitch. In on the hands, fought off. We'll do it again.
And they're right there. You see the ability of Nardi on the mound. That's a good fastball in on the hands, well located. And this is the stuff that drives coaches nuts because you see, you've seen it in Major League Spring Training. You'll see a guy, he can throw a no-hitter in the bullpen, right? And then you run him out there and you go, what happened? What happened?
2-2 pitch. In on the hands, another foul ball from Preston Jones.
But
big leagues. I saw it in Little League the other night when I was catching a bullpen.
You were catching a bullpen?
Yes, I was catching a kid's bullpen before I warmed up before he went in the game.
Please tell me you were wearing full gear and a mask.
No.
That's way dangerous for you.
I was a 9-year-old.
It's still dangerous for you. Yes, it is. Just wear a helmet at least.
2-2 pitch. Just missed with a breaking ball and a full count on Jones. A good battle here with Nardi.
He wanted that pitch. It's a changeup on the outside part.
Preston Jones leading it off. Oregon State, they're 27-8 on the year. They do have one tie. And that one hits Jones, and he'll get first base.
Well, we talked about this. Nardi goes from 1-2 to 3-2 to hitting them.
And a really good job by Jones. An 8-pitch at bat, fought off some pitches to earn first base.
Absolutely.
That'll bring up Jake Harvey, the second baseman. Hitting .234, he's driven in 5. And here's defensively how they stack it up. The Wildcats behind Nardi. Cameron Cannon and Nick Quintana on the left side of the infield. Both those guys are absolute studs. They're really good.
They really are. But, you know, we talk about the batting average team for the Beavers, 10th out of 11. They're hitting .258. How can the Beavers have so many wins? It's all about pitching. Their team ERA is .287. They're second in the pack, but they're 5th in the entire nation.
And that's high for them, having a .287 ERA. First pitch, foul ball off the bat of Harvey, the freshman. It's from Kennewick, Washington, up in the Tri-Cities. Getting the start at second base. It's Oregon State. They had to replace so much offense from the national championship team from last year. You look at having to...
Caden Grenier, Nick Madrigal.
Grenier shortstop, Madrigal at second base.
Trevor Larnach.
He was in right. Out in front of the off-speed, 0-2 on Harvey.
Quinn, center field.
Yep. Quan.
Stephen
Quan. Michael Gretler at third base. Now, Adley Rutschman is back behind the plate.
It's kind of like they just reload.
Yeah.
Like every year.
Very true.
Like every year.
Up and away, ball 1. 1-2 the count. There is Pat Bailey, the interim head coach of the Beavers.
11 years assistant.
There's Nate Yeske to his right, the pitching coach, one of the top pitching coaches in college baseball. In tight to Jake Harvey, and it's 2-2.
Well, you mentioned Nate Yeske. 2017, Nate was D1 Baseball's assistant coach of the year. He's a good one.
Two and 2 the count. Nardi moved to first base. Jones was leaning, but he gets back to first base. And we're talking about how, well, 2.87, the team ERA is high. A couple of years ago in Oregon State, lost in Omaha at the College World Series. They had a team ERA, the team that went 56-6, 1.93 for the season.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's all I'll say.
Jones at first, and the pitch on the ground and through into left. Jake Harvey with a single. Preston Jones stops at second base. And the Beavers are in business. 2 on, nobody out, and Adley Rutschman coming up.
Well, that's just an elevated off-speed pitch, and just like that, we're going to take a look at, watch the location, folks. It's just up, and it's saying, hit me, hit me, hit me, and he finds that 5-6 hole. And this is every coach's nightmare in the Pac-12, and anytime Oregon State is playing anybody, it's Rutschman up, where they can't walk them, they can't pitch around them. Just deal with it.
Switch hitter, Adley Rutschman batting right. 421 for the junior from Sherwood, Oregon. 13 home runs, 41 batted in. A .590 on base percentage.
Yeah,
Strike one.
This .590 on base percent. And by the way, folks, if you're wondering, is it the best in the country? Yes, he's the best in the country on base. But this guy here is a superstar person, a human being, a student, and a player.
Terrific family. We talked to his parents before a ball game here last year.
Yes.
Runners lead. Jones at second, Harvey at first. And the one-strike pitch is flared foul by Rutschman.
Well, you remember a couple years ago, his parents said, hey, he just came back one day and he said, I just want to play baseball. Now,
he was a two-sport athlete here at Oregon State. He was a kicker.
Right, but
for the football team.
Claim to fame?
He tackled Christian McCaffrey.
That's right. He sure did.
He was the kickoff specialist as a freshman. And Gary Anderson was the head coach here at Oregon State. Now Jonathan Smith, the head football coach. He'll join us, by the way. Later on in the broadcast, they have the Oregon State spring football game today at Reser Stadium as Rutschman pops it up. In back of second, the shortstop, Cannon going out, and he makes the catch and a huge out for Andrew Nardi. He gets one of the top hitters in college baseball to pop out with 2 on and nobody out.
Well, Rutsch will tell you when he goes back that's a ball, but that's an off-speed pitch that's just hanging up, middle. And those are the ones that are hard to let go. Took him a while to call the infield fly rule, didn't it?
He eventually got to it, though.
Yeah, it's about leather he did.
Well, the ball was getting to the outfield. I want to think that the second base umpire, Billy Speck, was waiting to see where it went. One down, the cleanup batter, Ryan Ober, the DH, 364. Takes just inside. 3 homers, 16 batted in. Ober, the sophomore from Snohomish, Washington, played sparingly only in 8 games last year and had 7 at-bats.
Well, he's played a lot of second base this year, Rox. He's done a really good job. I mean, listen, when you're replacing Nicky Madrigal, hello.
Off the end of the bat, over toward foul ground. Wells goes crashing into that netting over foul ground along that warning track over there on the side of the field. And that short wall. And it's 0-2, rather 1-1 on Ryan Ober. And with the lefty on the mound, it altered the lineup a bit. For example, one of the heroes from the College World Series for Oregon State from last summer, Tyler Malone, not in the lineup tonight. He was in the lineup for game 1, a convincing Oregon State win as the runners go, shoots through the catcher Matthew Dyer, and taking a wide turn, having to scamper back is Harvey to second base. It is a stolen base, even though the pitch got through the catcher Dyer, because both Preston Jones and Jake Harvey were running.
Yes.
And the double steal gets 2 in scoring position here with 1 out.
Well, listen, Jones gets a great jump at second. And you mentioned on the backside, Harvey's going. Here's Harvey. He's picking up. Let's go, let's go. Hey, no, got to get back. Got to get back. I was a little bit surprised, Roxy, that Dyer actually threw the ball to second base. There are some times when you're in the dugout as a skipper, no, don't. And that's one of those times because that's one of those balls that can get airmailed.
That's when you're screaming, eat it,
That's
eat it.
right. That's right. And we're not talking about food.
So the double steal. The pitch. Ober, foul ball.
But you see where Nardi's been living, Rox, in that dangerous zone. Everything
He's
is
got to
up.
get it down.
It's up, and it's up, and it's up with that wind blowing out to left.
2-2 pitch. Ober swings and drills it foul out in front of the off speed. We'll do it again. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
This literally is one time where Dyer, I know you don't get a lot of trips, but you take a look at the wind right there, but this is one of those times where Dyer just needs to go out there and say, hey, get the ball down. I'll block it. Get it down.
Help me help you.
Something like that.
Here comes the 2-2. Got him. Fooled him. The ball was down. On the off-speed, Ober way out in front, and a big strikeout for Andrew Nardi. And Nardi averages more than 1 strikeout per inning on the season.
And voila, the adjustment, slide piece down, and you get the punch out.
Second and third, 2 outs, leaves it up to the catcher, Troy Claunch, batting .244. 1 homer for Claunch, the Vacaville, California product. In between San Francisco and Sacramento.
Excuse me, Rox. From a confidence standpoint for Nardi, if somehow he can get out of this mess,
it'd be huge.
Big time.
Preston Jones at third, Jake Harvey at second. And just missing with ball 1 is Joe Maiden calling the balls and strikes tonight. Alex Ortiz, the umpire, at first. Billy Speck at second. And Jason Kaminsky is our third base umpire.
Billy Speck, great umpire name, isn't it? You'll never forget him.
1-0 on Claunch. Hit .321 last year, Claunch. Fooled. And it's 1-1. 2 homers, 10 batted in as a freshman last year. Made 10 starts a year ago and getting to start behind the plate tonight. And let's face it, when you're the backup to Adley Rutschman, you're not going to start very much.
No.
So you got to take advantage of it when you got it. Inside edge with a fastball from Nardi, and it's 1-2 on Claunch.
And unfortunately, even if you go 4 for 4 with 4 home runs, you're still not going to catch.
Nice job. Here's your seat on the bench tomorrow.
There it is.
Adley just needed a day. But he'll get the chance, most likely, to catch every day next year. 1-2 pitch, weak ground ball, tough play. Nick Quintana lets it roll, and it dies on the infield in fair territory. And a 65-foot dribbler for a single to tie the game.
And it's a base hit, and Claunch is going to tell you it's a base hit, Roxy. Mr. and Mrs. Claunch, wherever you're at, it's a line drive. That's all it is.
And it's an RBI single at that.
Yeah, here we go. So how'd you do tonight? Well, second and third, drove in 1 with the single. Well, what happened to the guy with second? Well, he ended up over at third.
Yeah, I advanced him.
Oh, boy. Look at that dugout. They are going to blast him when he gets in.
And if you're Andrew Nardi, what are you thinking right now?
Well, I don't even know what to tell you. I don't know what that youngster is thinking about right now, but if he gets out of here with only 1 run of damage, well done.
Runners at the corners for Elliott Willie with 2 down. Willie, who's played just a little bit this year, getting the start at second base tonight. And the freshman takes ball 1. He's just 2 for 12 on the year with an RBI.
You got to remember, this inning started for Nardi second and third and no outs. And Rutschman up. So he gets out of here, 1-1. Well done.
Sophomore from Bend, over in the eastern part of the state. Just missed. 2-0 on Elliott Willie. And Willie had a horrific accident a couple of years ago as Arizona pitching coach David Lawn making a trip to visit Nardi. But Elliott Willie, when he returned against West Virginia and made the start March 1st, it was a big day for him in his first official home start this season. But in the summer of 2017, Willie was working at his grandfather's grain bin in Pullman, and so he was the grain bin was in Pullman where his grandfather's house was, and the grain bin wasn't shooting out properly.
Hold on, tell me what that grain bin.
a grain bin.
Okay, all right. We'll just roll with it.
So he was trying to, it wasn't working properly, he was trying to fix it. And he
Right.
balanced himself against the grain bin when the machine was off, and it accidentally went on before he could pull his hand away. And it severed one of his fingers, and he lost a finger.
Wow.
On his right index finger. Swing and a miss by Willie. It's 2-1. And unexpectedly starting, the accident, he couldn't get his hand out of there before he lost part of that right index finger, and they tried to save it, couldn't, and they had to fly him over to Seattle to perform surgery to try to save the finger if they could. And Pullman's over in the eastern part of the state where Washington State is.
Mm-hmm.
Willie takes a strike, and here he is, returning to baseball, and great to see.
That's incredible.
So it's the right index finger, and you can kind of see the batting glove just kind of dangling a little bit there. And taking second base, Claunch, and a steal. He just ran, and Nardi never saw him going, and that's a stolen base for Claunch, as Nardi just kind of lost sight of him over there at first base.
Well, we saw Arizona in their half with some trickery, and right there, watch Claunch. He just takes off. Nardi's not even paying attention.
And that's the catcher running.
Yeah, it's...
So a steal for Claunch, second and third, with 2 outs. Third stolen base this inning combined is, all right, Jay Johnson made his chest move, and now
I got to tell you something, Ross.
Pat Bailey did his.
I've never seen that in my life. He just took off, literally with him standing on the rubber.
And right in front of him, too.
Right.
Nardi's a left-handed pitcher. 30 pitches already for Nardi. Foul ball from Elliott Willie.
We're going to get another look at it. Just watch this, folks. Claunch just takes off. Nardi is locked in on Dyer, giving signs, and he just takes off. Now, ideally, you'd want somebody to say, step off, step off, step off. Don't know if it happened. Didn't look like it happened.
Jake Harvey at third, Troy Claunch at second. And it's 2-2 on Willie. Another foul ball.
You know, the one thing about Nardi, we talked about his command, Rocks, but you can see how he has been effective because he doesn't throw anything the same speed. If you see all the velocities, we've seen it from 74 to 89.
This will be pitch number 33 of the first inning. Here it comes. Nice job by the catcher Dyer with a runner at third. Full count on Willie.
Well, you got the left-handed Ducard on deck with first base open here, Rock, so I would expect something off speed as long as it's down. We've talked about Nardi having trouble keeping the ball down in the zone.
The pitch. Willie gets under it. Shallow center. Williams racing in. Going out is Wiley, and it falls in. 2-run score, and Oregon State leads 3-1 on a 2-run single by Elliott Willie. Williams went sprinting in from center. Justin Wiley, the second baseman, scampering 300 with 3 home runs. And Armstrong getting the chance to play in his absence. Elliott Willie at second, Jake Ducard at first. 2 down. Pitch number 39 of the first inning from Nardi is outside. These two programs have combined for 7 national championships.
That's pretty good.
Each won in the last 7 years.
What conference?
Pac-12.
Okay.
On the ground to third, Nick Quintana fields, and he just will take it himself to the bag and get the force on Elliott Willie. And the Beavers are gone here in the first, but they get 3 runs, and Oregon State carries a 3-1 lead to the second. Tomorrow, Sunday Night Baseball, the series finale, Interleague Baseball, the Braves and the Indians at Progressive Field. Our coverage begins 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific with baseball tonight. Sunday Night Countdown on ESPN and the ESPN app. Braves and the Indians, and your former teammate and
Arizona Wildcat.
Huge Arizona Wildcat supporter. Terry Francona, of course, the skipper for the Cleveland Indians.
Well, Tito donated some money, and they built that hitting facility in right field over at High Corbett.
Terry Francona batting facility, yeah. Grant Gambrell starts the second inning against Ryan Holgate, 6, 7, and 8 for Arizona. Holgate followed by Brandon Bossier and then Justin Wiley. 3-1 Oregon State. The 1-0 pitch. That's ball 2 as Gambrell stumbled after that delivery. He's kicking the ground around the front side of the hill there. And this is an all-turf field at Oregon State other than the pitcher's mound.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only dirt you will find on the field. 204 batter, Holgate on the ground to first. And a smooth hop handled at first base by Adley Rutschman. And there's one out.
Kind of forgot about Rutsch, didn't we? I mean, he's just hiding over there at first.
One gone for Brandon Bossier, left fielder hitting an even .250. He's driven in 4 on the year. There is Adley Rutschman. Yes, playing first base tonight.
We got to get his bill bent a little bit.
He's not used to wearing one over there. Down low to Bossier, the freshman from Riverside. A lot of youth on this Arizona team getting some opportunities for Jay Johnson. One-0 pitch. That missed high.
Well, you know me, Rox. These are always my favorite innings for pitchers if they're on my club. Team scores run, get the first out, and get that shutdown inning.
2-0 on Brandon Bossier as Gambrell fires, and that one bounces and again stumbling on his landing spot there. 3-0. Gambrell 2-1 and a 3.27 ERA coming in. There is a strike, and Oregon State having to shift some things around with the rotation with one of the heroes from last June in their run to the College World Series title, with Kevin Abel sidelined with Tommy John surgery, is supposed to be their ace. Ball top to first on a backhand. Adley Rutschman takes it himself. 2 outs.
Yeah, it's a big-time loss with Kevin Abel going to be out, as you mentioned, Rox, with Tommy John. It was kind of a mystery early as to
initially they were saying it was a back issue.
Right, yeah.
And then they disclosed that it is a Tommy John procedure for Abel. And the sophomore from San Diego, who did appear in 3 games this year, had 25 strikeouts in 16 1/3 innings. And was 2-0 with a 3.86 ERA in his 3 starts as Justin Wiley takes a strike, senior from Chandler. Gambrell's pitch. 0-2. So Abel lost for the year, and Nate Yeske, the pitching coach for Oregon State, having to juggle some things. Did he go? Yes, he did. 3 up, 3 down, and now 3 strikeouts for Grant Gambrell. We go to the bottom of the second inning. Oregon State, a 3-1 lead, 9-1-2 coming up. This is filthy from Gambrell.
Well, it is. He's been outstanding, and this is why we're heading to the bottom of the second in Corvallis.
For the 40th straight year, the NFL Draft is on ESPN, and ABC will have its own unique coverage for the first time, hosted by the College Game Day crew. It all comes to you from Nashville, and it starts in the first round Thursday night, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. All 3 days of the draft are also on ESPN Deportes, ESPN Radio, NFL Network, and the ESPN app.
Increíble Deportes.
That was impressive.
Well, you don't know that?
I got the Deportes part.
Yeah, you like the increíble part of it.
That was nice. I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch the Game Day Crew.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm gonna try that one.
All right, so Murray's going 1.
Most likely. Kyler McMahon leads off the second. And he takes ball 1. The 9-hitter hitting 250. He'll be followed by the top of the order, Preston Jones and Jake Harvey.
Well, explain to me, Rosen, number 1 pick last year for the Cardinals. Cardinals are on the clock right now.
Okay.
And they're going to just bail on Rosen?
That's what it sounds like. A little high from Nardi. 2-0 on McMahon. Kyler McMahon, 88 at-bats on the year.
How about the eye black there, Rox?
Sophomore from Seattle. Some good eye black going. Some good paint. There's a strike, 2-1.
Kind of looks like the bags under my eyes right there. It's not thick.
Well, the sun's blinding right now.
Well,
2-1 pitch. McMahon takes ball 3.
You can get cloud burn.
But that's not what the eye black's for.
No, I know, but I almost got you believing what I just said, and that's
you didn't.
Yes, I did, because
you didn't.
You paused and looked at the sky, and you were trying. You were contemplating.
And I looked at you.
Another big word, contemplating for me, but
McMahon takes ball 4.
Where is that pitch?
This somewhere.
Well, we're going to get a look at it right here. You're struggling with your command, and you need this pitch right here.
First walk issued by Andrew Nardi, who hit a batter that was Preston Jones, who's climbing in now as Jones scored a run in the first inning.
Well, Dyer's out in front of the plate right now telling his corner infielders be aware for the bunt. Again, we're talking about a club in the Beavers, 258, 10th in the conference. Somehow they've manufactured enough runs to win games, but we talked about why they have an opportunity to win games.
But they did muster up some offense in game 1 today. As there is Jones, popped it up. Nardi lets it trickle toward the foul line, and it just stays fair. And Andrew Nardi has to be just shaking his head, just going, what the heck is going on here?
Well, hold on. It's not just Nardi shaking his head. It's Jay Johnson in the dugout and the coaching staff and the entire team. I mean, normally with carpet, and I call this carpet, that ball would spin, and it's going to end up foul, but this is a little bit soft. This is not carpet. It's called something else, Roxy. I'm sure you know.
Field turf.
Field turf. There's not a lot of spin.
So Oregon State put up 15 runs in game 1 of the doubleheader today. A 15-3 win. And now they have 5 hits with nobody out in the bottom of the second. And not one of the hits was a solid hit.
No, but I tell you what, it's first and second and no outs, and I know the Cats thinking that they might bunt right here, but Rutsch is on deck.
There's a foul ball bunted from Jake Harvey, who singled and scored in the first.
And see, here's the thing, is that when you have somebody like Rutschman who's on deck, and you have first and second, and you're going to bunt, you have to expect, as a skipper, he's not going to hit. So you're losing Rutschman's bat right now if you bunt. And again, everybody to each his own. For me, I'm not going to lose that guy's bat who's on deck. That's going to happen in an instant if this bunt gets down. Now, you'll say, hey, the bases are loaded. Ober comes up. Still a good situation with 1 out. But this guy's hitting 429. And
you're taking the bat out of maybe the best hitter in the country's hands. Swinging away, fly ball right field. Ryan Holgate is there, drifting with it for the Wildcats, makes the catch, tagging, and Kyler McMahon goes to third. Staying at first is Preston Jones.
Well, it's a good job by McMahon, and Coach Bailey changed his mind. I don't know. I mean, I have no idea why he changed his mind. I don't know. I mean, they got that headset in there, don't they? But he changed his mind, and just like that, it's first and third, and now here comes Rutsch. Good base running by McMahon at second.
So Rutschman, who popped out of the first inning, he's 0 for 1. Rutschman leads Oregon State in 10 different offensive categories.
I'm not even going to ask you which ones. I mean, I obviously.
You want me to?
I'll just stick with the batting average. I understand that, the on-base percentage.
The home runs, RBIs.
I get it.
That
and the
count?
home runs, RBIs.
He had an inside the park home run.
I saw that
in the first game of this series.
I saw that a couple nights ago.
His second career inside the park homer. Strike one from Nardi.
Well,
good breaking ball.
It's the second time Rutsch has had an opportunity with runners, two runners on.
Leadoff walk, McMahon at third. Jones at first. One strike pitch. Rutschman a drive out towards center. Williams going back, still going back, has some room, steps onto the track, makes the catch, and a sac fly will bring in Kyler McMahon. Preston Jones stays at first. Rutschman drives in his 42nd of the year.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb right here, Rox. I think Rutsch was looking off speed right there. I think he was looking soft and he reacted to fastball. And you can do that when you have somebody on the mound that's not a hard thrower. But I don't think he was looking fastball at all. I think he was looking soft. He saw the fastball. It's not overpowering right there. You have the ability to react, and he gets the job done.
Two-way. Preston Jones at first. Ryan Ober struck out in the first inning. And Nardi moved to first base. 4-1 Beavers. They're at it again. It's Oregon State ranked number 4. As the Pac-12 has 3 of the top 4 teams in the country.
Well, they do. UCLA 2nd, Stanford 7th.
Well, depending on what poll you go with.
Well, no, I'm talking about ERA. I thought you were talking about team ERA.
No, I'm just talking about ranking.
Oh, 1, 2, and 4?
Yeah.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Well, it's pretty good when the unanimous number 1 team in the country is 3rd in your league.
Yeesh.
UCLA winning earlier today. Took 2 out of 3 from Cal down in Los Angeles at Jackie Robinson Stadium. Nardi's pitch, and Ober fooled.
It's a good changeup right there, but we got a chance. We'll talk about the Stanford club and UCLA and, of course, Oregon State. I mean, the metric numbers are nutty for those teams.
Look at the RPIs. Certainly another banner season for the Pac-12.
But there's no question from a national standpoint, the bullseye's on the Pac-12 this year. That's where it's at. I mean, that's where it's at. It's not taking anything away from any other conference, but based on the rankings we just talked about, 1, 2, and 4, the RPIs, etc.
And the defending national champs are in this conference. One strike pitch. That one is, I would say, in the dirt, but again, it's not dirt, so it was in the turf.
We started this dirt thing with the turf and dirt and all that kind of stuff. I'm not fond of it behind the dish. I'm not.
You'd like to see it
dirt? I want dirt. I want dirt. I want a true bounce. And, of course, the makers of this turf will say it's got the truest bounce in the world.
Tough to get a bad hop off this stuff. Nardi throws over to first.
I will tell you, this turf is great for infielders. You're not going to get a bad hop. Every time I went to a turf field, I loved it.
Preston Jones, the runner at first base. The Beavers got 3 in the first, 1 more here in the second, and a 4-1 lead. Going for a sweep of this series of the Wildcats. Skipping out of the way is Ober, squirts away from the catcher Matthew Dyer, and taking second is Preston Jones.
Well, listen, Nardi's got a little run, and there's just a little bit, but in defense of Nardi, Dyer just got lazy right there, Rox. He just got lazy. I mean, if you look at his feet, they are really close together. Speaking of Dyer.
So they've charged Dyer with a pass ball.
And you're going to pretty much lock yourself in. If you're going to sit tight with these feet, you're going to get locked in back there.
Ober hits it sharply to third, speared by Nick Quintana. Fires across to Austin Wells at first. The Beavers are gone, but they add a run here in the bottom of the second on a hit. Through 2, Oregon State 4, Arizona 1.
The NBA playoff rolls on tomorrow with a couple of Game 4s on ABC and the ESPN app. Celtics Pacers at 1 p.m. Eastern. Then it's Warriors Clippers. NBA Countdown gets it all started at 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific.
Warriors up 2-1 in that series. Game 4 with the Clips from Staples Center in L.A. So this is the DH spot, and now it's technically a pinch hitter. Tate Soderstrom is batting, but Jay Johnson had a pitcher who he never had intending to hit.
What are you trying to tell me? Is it sneaky or what?
It's just a rule in college baseball
that you don't like.
I don't. I
Just
don't.
Get it out.
I don't. So Tate Soderstrom technically pinch hitting. Sophomore from Turlock, California. And the one-strike pitch is in there. It's 0-2. So the original lineup, again, that Jay Johnson had tonight, he had a pitcher.
Flanagan.
Who, as the 0-2 is outside ball one, penciled in there, who was never going to bat, and he was waiting to see what would happen when the DH spot would come up. And it's something that the legendary coach from Stanford, Mark Marquis, started years ago, and teams have kind of caught on to it. 1-2 pitch. Did he go? No swing on appeal to third.
No, I think it's a good call.
2 balls, 2 strikes, the count on Soderstrom.
Jason Kaminsky, third base umpire. You know, I wish they'd almost mandate, Rocks, that you have to check if you're a plate umpire.
With the
check swing.
Base umpire. Fouled off by Soderstrom.
Yeah, it's the most difficult call for an umpire to make, in my opinion.
While you're at it, I'd like to see them make the person you have in the DH spot, for example, have to have one at bat. Called strike 3. 4th strikeout for Grant Gambrell, and there's 1 gone.
Well, it's a good get-me-over slider with 2 strikes. And, again, with the overpowering fastball, I mean, Gambrell, he's able to just lock guys up with his off-speed stuff.
After a couple of jitters early, he's retired 6 in a row. Back to the top of the order, and Dante Williams.
I like your idea, Rox.
That if you put somebody in, they have to
have one plate appearance.
It's like the Major League rule.
Uh-huh. And when you think about it, because the idea behind it, obviously, you hope you have runners on base when that spot comes up in the order, and then Jay Johnson, in this case, would put up somebody that he obviously can hit and can drive in runs.
Dante Williams showed bunt. It's ball 1. Singled and stole home in the first inning. Just missed off the corner.
Not the conventional steal home, but it still counts.
Part of a delayed double steal, and he was the back end of the double steal, and he was at third base when Austin Wells was running to second. Ball 3 to Dante Williams.
See how Clonch caught that ball right there? You see how he gave with it and his elbow went out? If he just turned his glove over like a clock, he might have got that pitch. But again, I mean, we're talking about Rutschman, and we've talked big time about him and everything that he can do, but he is one of the best receivers in the game.
3-1 now on Dante Williams. 4-1, Oregon State with the lead here in the top of the 3rd inning. Arizona scored first, and 4 straight by the Beavers, and now Dante Williams gets the walk, and he'll head down to first base.
Up next, the catcher, Matthew Dyer.
So Williams aboard for the 2nd time. That's the first walk issued by Gambrell. And that ends the run of 6 in a row retired by the Beavers right-hander is Matthew Dyer coming up. He struck out in the 1st.
Well, we know Williams can run at first, Rocks, but regardless that the Wildcats are chasing 3 runs, you cannot stop running. You can steal a bag, you steal it.
Williams can steal bags. We've seen him steal 1 already. He has 5, make it 6 now on the year as a throw to first by Gambrell.
sun went down, it got a little cold, didn't it, Rox?
A little chilly.
I hate that word chilly.
Why?
Because chili's food. It is. It's cold.
Here's a drive out toward left off the bat of Dyer. Going back to the wall. Jones makes the catch. Right in front of the wall out there in deep left. And Williams gets back to first.
Up next, the first baseman,
Dyer just missed that one.
He did, but, you know, Rox, we've been here many times and done many games up here, and the wind seems to blow the same way all the time, but there is a jet stream out there. If you get the ball up, anything can carry out of here.
2 gone. That leaves it up to Austin Wells, who singled in the first inning.
You know,
Dante Williams, the runner at first.
You know, Austin has never hit below 333 this year.
It's impressive for a freshman. It's up to 353 now as it's 0-1.
How about that changeup? And he does it so easy, Rox. I mean, you referenced Gambrell on the mound. It's just an easy. It looks like he's almost throwing BP, but by the way, it's 96 sometimes.
One strike pitch. 0-2.
Well, his previous start, he really sliced up a very powerful Sun Devil lineup, didn't he?
That's one of the best offenses in college baseball, Arizona State. And what a start Tracy Smith's team had to the year. They were the last remaining unbeaten.
You think?
Yeah. And they're having a phenomenal year. Runner goes. Pitch outside. Claunch on the money to second. Williams thrown out trying to steal with Andy Armstrong covering. What a throw by Claunch. The backup almost as good as the everyday guy.
Well, this is good stuff. I mean, really good stuff by Claunch. Some good feet right there. And they nail them. We're heading to the bottom of the third.
Arizona
Beavers
head
up.
coach Jay Johnson joins us next. We head to the home third, 4-1 lead for Oregon State. 5, 6, and 7 to up for the Beavers, along with Wes Clements, Roxy Bernstein. And we're joined by the head coach of the Arizona Wildcats, Jay Johnson from the U of A dugout. And Jay, appreciate the time. And when you're talking to your pitcher tonight, he's made some really good pitches. He's just, you want to talk about a guy who's having some bad luck. It's Andrew Nardi tonight. What do you tell your guy?
You just got to keep throwing with intent. Maybe some of those weak contacts with 2 strikes will turn into strikeouts, and keep your head up. We got a bad break with the ball with Claunch down the line, and give these hitters some credit, though. They're getting just enough of the barrel to place it where they want to.
Yeah, Jay, it looks like he's having trouble keeping the ball down, but when he does keep his breaking ball down, he's very successful.
Yeah, he's got tremendous stuff. It's just a matter of executing it consistently, keeping the count in our favor, and then let his stuff work for him.
You've dealt with a lot of big injuries to your team this season. What are some of the things that you've done to try to keep this team and rally to get them to stick together despite losing some key guys?
Well, I think you just have to look at it as an opportunity. I mean, we're playing 6 freshmen and sophomores in the lineup tonight that we do think are going to be really good players, and this is in a tough environment to get them indoctrinated in. I think it'll pay off in the long run. I'd like to see them play a little better, execute a few more pitches, and take tough at bats, but this pitching staff from Oregon State makes it tough on you.
Well, Jay, everywhere you've been as a coach, from San Diego to Nevada and now to the Wildcats, you've been successful. You averaged 40 wins in your first 3 years. Obviously, your first year, you end up in Omaha. This year right here is just some growing pains, I'm going to guess, no?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, the injury thing you guys mentioned has been tough, but, you know, we have a high standard for how we want to play the game, and so we haven't quite got there on the pitching and defense side of it. The offense, for the most part, has been very good. We just need the other two to come along. We're really excited about our 2019 recruiting class, a ton of pitchers, high-end pitchers, and hopefully we'll get those guys through the draft and mesh with this group that's out here in the field and get us back on track.
And also the facilities. I know Terry Francona made a huge donation in the Terry Francona Batting Center. How much has that helped your program?
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, I'm an Indians fan. Let's just put it that way. It's that significant. And, I mean, I think if you talk to our players, the gratitude that they have for it, 24-hour access, and I can't thank Terry enough. It's been an unbelievable deal for player development, and the one area that this team's been very good is offensively and swinging the bat, and so it's made a huge impact.
Well, and then, of course, we have the recent Hall of Famer, Trevor Hoffman, comes back. I mean, he talked to the club. I mean, that's got to be exciting for the kids, huh?
Oh, yeah, unbelievable. I mean, you're talking about somebody that was either the best or tied for first at the best at what they do, which was closing baseball games. And, I mean, he's a Hall of Fame person as well as one of the best of all times at what he did. So that was a great experience for our guys, and just the way he went about his craft, it was awesome to hear him talk about that, and something I think our guys can model.
Well, Jay, talk about if you can, this is the Pac-12. I mean, what you guys have to face every week. I mean, pretty loaded this year, huh?
Yeah, in my 4 years, this is the best that it's been, and you could kind of see it coming. I think these class at juniors was the class of 2016, and that summer when I got the job, you could tell that everybody had loaded up on a lot of talent, and a lot of them got through the draft, and that this was going to be a year that was going to be very good. And so, yeah, I mean, being on the road at UCLA, ASU, Oregon State, and Stanford has been not awesome at this point in time. But we got to persevere through it. The last month of the season, we get a couple home series and see what we can do.
You mentioned that class of 2016 that are now juniors, Jay, and you have two really good ones on the left side of your infield when you look at Cameron Cannon at short, Nick Quintana at third. What have those two guys meant to your program?
Yeah, they've been awesome. I mean, they're the first two that really took a chance on us without any track record at Arizona. And Cameron, he loves to play baseball. There's nothing else he'd rather do. And Nick is just consummate professional at everything he does. He's the hardest worker on the team. He sets a good standard for how you should do everything. And both those guys will be drafted, and I'm excited for them. And I think whatever organizations get them, they'll be happy with them.
Jay, thanks so much for the time.
Guys,
appreciate it. Jay Johnson, the head coach of the Arizona Wildcats, and you alluded to it in his first season in Tucson with U of A as Elliot Willie sends one in the air out toward right center where Dante Williams makes the grab.
Well, it was a little frustrating for the Wildcats, for Jay and for his club and for the alumni and for everybody, because you got to remember they played Coastal Carolina in that final. They won game one. They won game one
of
the three-game, two out of three series. But, I mean, kudos to Coastal Carolina and Gary Gilmore. I mean, Gary Gilmore is a baseball man. And I worked their regional at North Carolina State, and I saw him there. And he said, this team is the Oakland Raiders, for better words, of college baseball. Some of them had long hair. They did what they needed to do, but they played the game the right way. And Gary Gilmore has done a tremendous job there.
Jake Ducard singled in the first. 2 outs, nobody on. Nardi looking for a quick inning. And he will not get one. Over third, and a soft liner into left. And a base hit is Brandon Bossier gets the ball in, and a 2-out hit the other way. That's now 6 hits for Oregon State.
Well, it's another base hit, not hit hard. He's got a little smile on his face. I mean, that's a BB Core bat hit. If that's a wooden bat, that's a pop-up to the third baseman.
2 outs, a runner at first. Andy Armstrong, a fielder's choice in the first inning, 0 for 1.
You think Wells whispered to him? Are you kidding me?
Would you ever say that to somebody over at first?
100% I would do that. But again, and that's in pro ball because you know the guys.
Would you do it when you were playing at Arizona?
If I knew the dude.
If you didn't know the guy? No?
No. Not initially.
You're playing against Cal, and Bob Melvin did that.
100%.
You would have said it?
Oh, 100% with Bobby. Because Bobby's chirping behind the dish. That's all he ever did.
Ball 1 to Andy Armstrong.
Catchers are a different breed. I mean, because you have some communication with them. If they could only mic sometimes hitters and catchers.
Andrew Nardi, runner at first. 1-0 pitch, and Armstrong takes ball 2.
I remember one time in A-ball, Roxy, a catcher, they went out to the mound. Third baseman went out to talk to the pitcher, and the catcher said, "Hey, I'm throwing a fastball right down the middle. Don't miss it." And I said, "What?" He goes, "I can't stand this guy on the mound. We're throwing a fastball right down the middle. Just don't miss it."
2-0 pitch. Armstrong in the air, right center field. Ryan Holgate is there. Makes the catch. Scoreless inning for Andrew Nardi. We head to the 4th. Heart of the order coming up for Arizona. 4-1 Oregon State. The Wildcats, we go to the 4th. The defending national champs up 4-1 on the Wildcats, along with Wes Clements, Roxy Bernstein. We have the pleasure of being joined by the head men's basketball coach at Oregon State and the #1 fan of Oregon State baseball, Wayne Tinkle. He's in the booth, and great for you to join us. And you're always here at the ballpark.
We love following everything Beaver-wise, right? Athletics, but baseball especially. You know, we talked last time, guys, how much baseball's been a part of our lives, and it's a thrill to be with you.
No, the thrill is all ours, believe me, as Austin Wells here leads off the fourth. And you were along for the ride last year. You went to Omaha. You got to see Oregon State compete for the national championship. How much fun did you have there in Omaha?
Oh, we had a blast. You know, we've gotten pretty close with Pat Casey and his wife Susan, their family, and he said what a great experience, Tanks, if we get back there. You got to make it. We couldn't make it the year before, but you see there
you are.
Laurie and Colton Daniels. There's Dave Daniels, Tim Hennessy, big supporters of
got the jersey going.
Athletics. Yeah.
Do you got eye black on there, bro?
Oh, no. It's just might have just been bags under my eyes. Yeah,
right.
Wes. But what an experience. It was everything that everybody's ever, told me about. You talk about Super Bowls, Final Fours, College World Series. What an event. It was incredible.
Talk about, Pat Casey better than most of us. I mean, who is Pat Casey? I mean, he's one of I know him personally, but from you being in the same institution with them so long, who is he?
Incredible person. I mean, a very devout man, number one, very principled. But I'm telling you, fountain of wisdom. He gives more advice, and just a pleasure to be around. There's one person I can compare it to. When I coached at the University of Montana, our women's coach, Robin Selvig, who's a Hall of Famer, those two remind me a lot of, in the way you can go to them and in a simple sentence get a world's worth of advice. And Pat's just an incredible guy that he bleeds orange and black, and certainly is a huge part of this institution.
Nick Quintana takes a strike after the fifth strikeout for Grant Gambrell as Wayne Tinkle, the head basketball coach for the Oregon State men, joining us here in the booth. And you got to see it day in, day out last year. The offense that this team had and the at-bats that they would put together. Just as a fan, and just a baseball purist with you, I know you're a huge Cubs fan, but just to watch them and their at-bats on a daily basis, what did you think of their offense and their approach?
Well, obviously, they're aggressive hitters, but they had a good the patience, the discipline they showed at the plate last year was unbelievable. And they had some obviously big games where they scored a lot of runs early, but you never ever doubted when they were struggling for 6, 7, even into the 8th inning. You knew there was going to be an explosion, and they just carried that out through the year. The momentum started early. They carried it all the way through the championship. And you look at this team, who's struggling a little bit offensively for the year, but here they are ranked second in the country and still having great success. So credit to Coach Bailey and the way he's taken the baton from Coach Casey and got this team going.
Well, one of those players last year was Nick Madrigal. He's the smallest guy in the field, but most likely the biggest heart. I mean, is it a stretch to say that you could take your team out and say, just watch this guy play for 9 innings, and they could learn something?
Well, I tell you, watch him play, and then some of the stories that we heard from the coaching staff. When he was a freshman, and maybe there was another player where he thought he earned or maybe deserved a little more than he was getting. Coach Case made them locker partners, not lockers next to each other, but they had to share the same locker. And he said it's your job to get him on page. Mm-hmm. And they ended up having a great relationship. Just his leadership, the stories we hear, we were able to kind of tell our guys, you think that he is what he is because he's just talented? No. There's a reason why, the way he goes about his work every day. And certainly we share that with our guys, and they learn valuable lessons from it.
Nick Quintana draws a one-out walk. Second walk issued by Gambrell. And a one-out base runner to get Cameron Cannon to the plate for Arizona. And Wayne, we've seen Adley Rutschman already play 2 sports for Oregon State. He was a kicker, of course, the All-American baseball player. Did you ever try to get him to come play for you? It's
funny. We said that earlier. We've got a recruit on campus, and we were talking about him, and I said, hey, to my assistant coaches, which one of you guys never went and asked him if he was a hooper? I mean, we've got to get him out on the floor. We didn't shoot it very well from 3 this year, as you know, Roxy, and I'm sure no, I take that back. They shot in our gym one day, and he couldn't hit his butt with either hand.
Yeah, but he's just a gamer.
But I know he would have got stops on the defensive end. And no, hey, listen,
he would have taken a charge for you.
I guarantee you he would have found a way to make a positive impact. That kid, I love him. He's a stud.
4-1, the Beavers lead it. As Wayne Tinkle up here in the booth, and you guys had a top 4 finish in Pac-12 this season in basketball. Strong season for your program.
It was a fun year. You know, the first time I think in 30 years we won 10 league games. You know, and people talk a little bit about the league being down. You know, Arizona and UCLA, they weren't what they normally are. But other than that, very, very competitive year. Colorado made a heck of a run. Oregon made a heck of a run. But to sweep our in-state rival and to get to 10 wins, something to build off of. You know, we built momentum from a year ago. We're heading in the right direction. And, you know, we got a couple guys that are going to test waters that just kind of want to get their name out there. But with everybody coming back and the guys we've got coming in, we're going to be excited to hit the court again next year.
That always bothers me, I think, in the West Coast. They continue on an annual basis. They always say, Pac-12, they're down. Pac-12's down. Oh, Pac-12's down. And this year, they really took shots at us out here. But lo and behold, Oregon, just like that. And then Oregon is everybody's best friend.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, we knew they could play defense.
Yeah, exactly. Dana does a great job getting his guys to peak at the right time, and they made a heck of a run. And, you know, we joked with some other coaches and media. As I did some radio shows at the Final Four, and guys like, you know, your buddy Fran coming down on us a little bit. And I said, wait a minute. There was a team in the Sweet 16 from the Pac-12, and there weren't.
They really beat Virginia, who won the national championship.
And there was another league in the Midwest that's pretty powerful that didn't have any make it that far. So, you know, the thing goes in cycles, and certainly there was a lot of injuries in our conference. We were very young as a conference, and I know that the conference is working hard to make sure we strengthen some things up moving forward, and there's no doubt in my mind that's going to happen. It's going to be another very talented and deep league next year.
A couple of wild pitches advancing. Nick Quintana over to third. Nate Yeske will head out to the mound to visit Gambrell, laboring with his control a bit here. 4-1 Oregon State leading. The top of the fourth, and you alluded to a couple of guys are going to test the waters from your program, and one of those lives in your house.
Well,
your son
used to.
He lives on campus now, but Trace Tinkle, what was that like for you in those conversations with Trace about him exploring his options?
Well, you know, the neat thing is he had seen some of our guys in years past. You know, both Stephen Thompson Jr. and Drew Eubanks after their sophomore years. Then again last year, then Drew coming out a year early, and what a neat deal for him to spend as much time as he did this year with the Spurs. And but he knew he had to wait for the right time. And you know, coming off of two years in a row where he's first team all league and getting some notoriety, he thought the time was right. The neat thing is now you can actually hire an agent and have them advise you through the process, and if you choose to come back, there's no penalty. And Trace just wants to get out there, get the experience, and if something happens, great. If not, he's really excited to come back with this group and go out on a real high note here at Oregon State.
Full count on Cannon. Quintana at third base after Nate Yeske's visit to the hill. The pitch knocked down by Clonch, and a walk for Cannon. And Arizona has runners at the corners as Gambrell laboring with his control.
Well, he is, Roxy, and you just mentioned Nate went out there to talk to him, but it just looks like he's hanging on to this on his breaking balls too long, and he's just spiking them, and he's wearing out Clonch behind the dish. Excuse me, Rox, but when you have stuff like this, you have the ability to get out of messes, and that's where we're at right now, first and third. Ground ball or strikeout, and he's out of this mess.
Ryan Holgate coming up for Arizona. And you were a great basketball player in your own right, had a long career professionally before you went into coaching. But how much baseball did you play growing up?
That was my first love. I started, you know, when everybody does playing T-ball back in Chicago. I didn't know what a basketball was until 5th, 6th grade, and I traveled all over the place playing this game, and just loved it. The unfortunate thing is we moved out to Spokane, then back to Chicago, and I went to a Catholic school that didn't have a baseball team, and so I missed a couple of years. Then I finished played when we moved back to Spokane for high school. There's a swing and a miss. There's that bounce back you're talking about, Wes. But just fell in love with it. Trace was a heck of a baseball player. Boy, he had a swing. But picking dandelions and that sort of thing in between pitches. We had to break them of that, but just a great sport. And obviously, you talked about the Cubs, growing up on the north side, and that's why we love the way the Beavers play. It's the gritty, discipline in your face kind of deal, and that's why we love supporting them so much. And Trace has always kind of mentioned his 5th year trying to take a shot at it. I don't know. These guys are pretty good, but
there's been a few guys that have done the football, or rather the basketball baseball combination. Danny Ainge played the major leagues.
I think obviously because of the timing, it's probably the easier of the two sports scheduling wise. We had a couple of football players try to walk on for us here. It's just tough with winter conditioning and all that sort of thing, but this is a different level. Everybody thinks, right, they've got a son or a nephew or somebody that can come play on your team, and everybody's got a kid that can play multiple sports, but we'll see.
Mark Henriksen's another one.
Yeah, he was a stud.
At Washington State.
Washington State, yeah.
Ryan Holgate, the batter, 2-1. Grant Gambrell missed inside.
I don't think that ball. Did he miss it inside? Well,
Joe Maiden thought he did.
Well, Clunch is, again, we talked about Rutschman. He's not catching beyond the dish, but Rutsch is one of the best ball catchers in the country, bar none, and he can make pitches look really good.
He mastered in pitch framing 101.
He's a framer.
He really did.
He'll bear down here.
3-1. Fouled off at home plate and a full count.
Well, it's interesting. You grew up liking baseball and playing baseball. I grew up playing basketball. We are exactly the opposite. I didn't play baseball until I went to college. Not one inning. I played hoop. I was just, my mom dropped me off at the gym, and that's it. Just picked me up at 6, and I ended up in college starting baseball.
That's a neat story, and it was just, like you mentioned, the opposite for me. That's all I played. We played anywhere we could.
Fouled away as the runner, Cameron Cannon, was going from first base, and a full count on Holgate.
And it was the right choice because I can't jump, and I would have had to be a guard, and everybody went right by me. And then I stand next to Tink right here, and he's got me by 7 inches or something, and I used to think I was tall.
Yeah. I tell you, my baseball coach at Ferris High School in Spokane, still when we run into each other every once in a while, he gets mad. So I stopped after my sophomore Legion year to focus on AAU when AAU started up, but
again, Cannon running, skied by Holgate. This one over toward the party deck.
Oh.
Chef Larry's down there somewhere. Have you ever eaten Chef Larry's food? Has he cooked for you?
He has. He has. When he very first started his, if you guys have had his bacon peanut butter.
We've had that.
We've had it all.
Heart attack burger.
He comes up and just brings a boatload of food for us.
And then Roxy blamed it on me.
And when he first got here, he asked he wanted a list of a few of my favorite sandwiches to do for our games. And I told him a meatball or a French dip, and I think they do Tinkle tater tots or something crazy every once in a while, and he throws everything but the kitchen sink in there. But here we go.
Strike 3 called. The delayed double steal. Scoring is Quintana, and racing back to first. Out is Cannon, but the run scores for Arizona as Quintana from third base comes in. Cannon is out, and the Cats are gone here in the 4th. Wayne, thanks. It was awesome.
Appreciate it, guys. It's always a pleasure.
Wayne Tinkle, the head basketball coach at Oregon State. 4-2 Beavs to the bottom of the 4th. 4-2, number 4, Oregon State, the defending national champions, leading the Arizona Wildcats as we go to the bottom of the 4th as you're watching the Pac-12 on ESPN. As Oregon State going for the sweep, and Arizona trying to scratch out runs any way they can. And they get a run without the benefit of the hit, and Andrew Nardi trying to settle in after a rocky start here for the Arizona Wildcats. A busy day in the Pac-12 today, and Stanford finished off a 3-game sweep, an impressive road sweep at Oregon this weekend by David Esker's Cardinal, who lead the Pac-12.
No, they have played very well. I mean, the only kink in the armor there is when the Bruins of UCLA, after losing Game 1 up at Sunken Diamond, came back to win the final 2 and win that series.
Kyler McMahon leads off the home 4th, and our thanks again to Oregon State basketball coach Wayne Tinkle for joining us, and the #1 fan of the Oregon State baseball program.
He's the best. He's
awesome.
my favorite basketball
Takes us
coach,
great.
period.
Those pictures of him in Omaha, fantastic.
Yeah. I still think he had eye black.
McMahon takes low and away. He walked and scored in the second inning. Other scores around the Pac-12 today. Utah was able to salvage the final game of that series with Arizona State. After the Sun Devils won the first two in Salt Lake City. 6-3 today. Congratulations go out to Bill Kinneberg, the head coach of Utah, and your former teammate at Arizona.
600?
Bill Kinneberg won his 600th career game today.
He's done a masterful job, right, and a tough place.
He won a conference championship a few years ago at Utah. 1-2 on McMahon. Nardi's pitch. Hit in the air, left center field. Dante Williams with room. And Williams, drifting with the wind, makes the catch as that ball carried out toward deep left center. One away, back to the top of the order. And Preston Jones has been aboard twice today. A bunt single his last time.
You know what I think's so impressive about this Beaver club, Rocks, is they're 19-4. 19-4, folks, away from Goss Stadium. I mean, you want to figure out how teams end up being winners, you went on the road. But these guys are 19-4 away from Goss Stadium.
Strike to Preston Jones.
Their first 8 games of the season were in Arizona. At Surprise, they played in the College Baseball Classic, Nebraska, Minnesota, and New Mexico.
One strike pitch. That straightens up Jones, 1-1.
But you know what I thought was really cool that they did? They played a tournament up at Seattle, at T-Mobile Park, home of the Mariners. And Minnesota, Indiana, and Coastal Carolina came out. Just awesome when you can get these kids to play in the big league yards.
You see UCLA and USC play at Dodger Stadium.
Yes.
I know that at Minute Maid Park in Houston, they've hosted tournaments. Same with Minnesota indoors at the home of the Minnesota Vikings, U.S. Bank Field. Two-one. 3-1 now, and earlier today, number 1 UCLA won the rubber game of a 3-game set from Cal. Cal, one of the bubble teams right now, if you look at D1Baseball.com, and their recent projection, they have Cal among the last 5 teams in the field. And you got to see, you were there for the first 2 games of that series, and what a brilliant performance by Jared Horn last night for California, pitching into the 9th to get a road win for the Golden Bears against the number 1 team in the country.
Well, I'll just say this. You don't want Cal in a regional. I mean, they are a solid ball club. Mike New is...
Preston Jones, a drive to left and deep. That is gone. Second home run of the season for Jones. And a 5-2 Oregon State lead. Mr. Jones put a charge into that one.
Well, he did, and Nardi just left one right down the middle. And we talked about this wind blowing out to left, but this ball's going out with no wind.
That ball was crushed. Second home run for Preston Jones, and the run that Arizona got in the top of the inning, Oregon State gets it right back. Jake Harvey, the batter, 1 for 2 of the run. Foul ball, but how good was Jared Horn last night?
He was tremendous. I mean, listen, he's had a lot of heartbreak in his life. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go ahead and look it up.
The story is that it goes back to Thanksgiving a year ago. Not just this past Thanksgiving, but the one previous. As the 1-strike pitch to Harvey down and in. And an annual family tradition, he was playing basketball with his dad, his uncle, his brother, his cousin. They're all driving back, and Jared Horn was driving the car, and his vehicle was hit by a drunk driver. And tragically, and as sad as it is, the other 4 people in the car passed away. His dad, his uncle, his younger brother, younger cousin, all lost their lives. Jared survived. And he has had to deal with so much thrown at him at such a young age. And this was a highly touted prospect, Was drafted coming out of high school, turned down the Milwaukee Brewers to sign with Cal. And after going through what he went through in Thanksgiving time of 17, he did pitch the 18 season, but clearly was not himself, and who could blame him for what he went through? But this year, he has been as dominant as any pitcher in college baseball. His numbers are lights out.
Well, I was there firsthand. I saw it last night, and listen, Mike knew was going to have to go out there and just fight to get the ball away from that young man. Once they gave him a 4-1 lead, he said, I got it. But, back to this Cal team. I mean, it's a team you do not want to face in a regional. I think 100% they deserve to be in the postseason. And then they got a guy named Andrew Vaughn that's pretty good.
Well, we tout Adley Rutschman as possibly the best player in college baseball. Last year, Vaughn was. He won the Golden Spikes Award. Cal's first baseman, Andrew Vaughn. Rutschman skies this one toward foul ground, giving it a look, and it hangs in there and staying with it. Matthew Dyer. Nice play. And Rutschman fouls out to retire the side with a homer by Preston Jones, and we're through 4 in Corvallis. Number 4, Oregon State, a 5-2 lead on Arizona. Coming up, the interim head coach of Oregon State, Pat Bailey, joins us next. Defending national champs, Oregon State leading Arizona 5-2 as we go to the 5th, bottom of the order for the Wildcats with Wes Clements, Roxy Bernstein. We're joined by the interim head coach of Oregon State, 12th year overall on the staff, Pat Bailey, joining us from the Beavers dugout. Pat, appreciate the time. And for you, when you step in and you're running this program now, what's the transition been like for you?
Well, it's been easy because Case and I worked together for 12 years before I took this job, and we have very similar philosophies in terms of what culture is all about within our program, and so it's been really easy.
Well, Skip, you have changed your lineup. I'm talking about your batting order quite a few times this year, just trying to feel it out, obviously, to get the best one that works the best. I mean, you haven't hit from an average standpoint this year, but you have pitched. I mean, it's a perfect combination, apparently.
Well, what's happened is the last 3 weeks we actually have started hitting a lot better. When we went through a stretch, we weren't hitting at all. It was, but we're getting better every week offensively. And the one thing that's been constant is our pitching and our defense. We've played outstanding defense all year long, with the exception of about a little 6-game stretch. But our defense has been outstanding this year.
You've had to deal with a few injuries. Certainly, Kevin Abel is the one that everybody knows about. Bo Phillip has been struggling with a hamstring. You're hoping to get him back, I know, soon. But what's been the key for you to hold everything together in dealing with some guys that are banged up?
Well, that's part of our culture. It's next man up, and we're here as a team. And when somebody goes down, the next guy's got to show up and play for him. So, in terms of combination of lineups, it's trying to find the right combinations depending on what matchups are and things like that. But we've had a fair number of guys that have started hitting, which has been great. So it's not as drastic as it was for a while, because I was trying to find guys that could just playing downright hit. But it's gotten better. It's gotten better the last 3 weeks.
Well, your junior on the mound, Grant Gambrell, he has been sensational. Me and Rox were talking about the luxury to have a 3 guy, and that's the guy.
Yeah, he's got good stuff. When he's on, he's really good. He just has a tendency sometimes to lose strike zone management type stuff, but when he's in the zone and it's down, he's really hard to hit.
Speaking of the luxury of having, what's it been like for you to be able to watch Adley Rutschman play every day?
Oh, it's a joy, and it's not just because of how good he is; it's also because of how great a person he is. So he's a great teammate, he's a great leader, and he's a true competitor. I mean, he competes every at bat, every pitch. He gives us everything he's got, every single game, every single pitch.
Well, Bales, we were talking about another great attribute of your club, which you went on the road. You're 19-4 away from Goss.
Yes. Yeah, we've played really well on the road. And I think that's part of, again, this group of guys, just their mental toughness and the culture that we have. But we have played really well on the road. I'm really proud of our guys, especially in Pac-12 play, other than the first weekend when we lost 2 out of 3 to UCLA. And we started out 1-3. So we've played really well since then.
You've seen a lot in this conference, and we were talking to Jay Johnson earlier, and he was saying this is only his 4th year at Arizona, but it's as good as he's ever seen the league. When you look at your program and where UCLA and Stanford are at right now, and with the strength and the depth of this conference, with teams like Arizona State, Oregon, and Cal, what do you see with the Pac-12 this year?
I think the Pac-12 is outstanding this year. It's a really good conference. It's deep. We knew that UCLA was going to be really good because they had so many guys returning, and Arizona State's matured. I mean, all those guys played as freshmen, and now they're juniors. So some of their key guys, and then add Torkelson in that lineup, who's a sophomore, and a couple of the other guys that are sophomores. Arizona State's lineup's as good a lineup as you're going to see in college baseball offensively. So I think it's a great conference, and every weekend's a dogfight, and you better show up, because if you don't show up, you're going to get beat by anyone.
Take us back to last summer and winning in Omaha. What was it like for you to be a part of that championship and see the players perform daily that you got to see, and how great that team was?
It was just a fun experience, and a great group of guys who really loved and cared for one another and just competed their rear ends off. And we had a lot of talent, too. I mean, we had 3 first-round draft pick position players, and it's just one of those things that was really fun to be a part of. And the journey is every bit as much fun as winning the national championship. The journey part of it is just seeing those guys progress through the year. And the year before we were 56-6. We just came up short at the end. But I just loved our competitive spirit last year, and just how guys competed game to game. And it was just fun to be a part of that journey.
You're doing a great job with the ball club this year. They're fun to watch again. Thanks for the time.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it, guys.
Pat Bailey, interim head coach of Oregon State, and his team leading at 5-2. A bunt getting Brandon Bossier to second base. Tate Soderstrom the batter, and he chops one to the right side. Charging it at second, Jake Harvey makes the play. On to third goes Bossier. And there's 2 gone, and we go back to the top of the order, and Dante Williams.
Bill's good one, huh? You could see why Oregon State elected to have that man run this program, and made the transition obviously much easier, being with Pat Casey for 11 years.
So here's Williams, who's singled, walked, and scored a run. 5-2 Oregon State, top of the 5th inning. His activity in the Oregon State bullpen. Dylan Pierce is getting loose. With Gambrell's pitch count approaching 80 here in the 5th. Oh, 0-1 the count. Dante Williams at the plate. Gambrell. The pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike. One other note, BYU winning in Seattle against Washington today, but we'd be remiss if we didn't send our best wishes to Noah Hill, the catcher for BYU, who was injured yesterday at Husky Ballpark. He was trying to block a ball that bounced at the home plate, and it caught him in the throat. And he had to be taken to a hospital in an ambulance. As Williams tried to hold up, he did hold up. No swing, says Jason Kaminsky down at third. And we're happy to report that he is doing well. Was in a Seattle hospital, hoping to get released today. I know the BYU coaches, Mike Littlewood, went with his staff over to see Noah Hill at a Seattle area hospital, as well as his family was there. And so glad to hear things are progressing from him and that Noah Hill's going to be okay. Scary moment last night in Seattle.
Absolutely.
3-1.
That's a program, Mike Littlewood, we've been over there a couple times and done a couple games, but they're in the discussion for postseason.
BYU can really hit.
Yeah, they
can really hit.
That mountain still scares me behind the yard. I mean, people hike up that thing.
You're not those people, though.
No.
On the ground right side. Rutschman lets it go by, hustling over to first, too late. Gambrell can't get there. An infield hit and an RBI for Dante Williams. And some indecision with Rutschman. Look, he's a catcher by trade over there at first base. He didn't really go after it confidently.
Well, I think he heard Harvey say, I got it, and this is why either that. I mean, listen, if this is pro ball, I could tell you a million things about this play. But that flat out is just speed, beating the ball. But I can't tell if Rutsch got stuck underneath himself in this I want to call it carpet all the time, but it's not carpet. But it could get sticky, and you can roll up on yourself, and that's what it kind of looked like.
Matthew Dyer 0 for 2. The catcher flew out to the wall last time up, and he looks at strike one.
But then again, Harvey just could have called him off. But if you're a first baseman, get that ball, regardless of what that second baseman says. Get it. Pitcher's getting over. Crutch is doing a little stretch right there. You see that?
Trying to get into his crouch over there. He's uncomfortable, doesn't know what to do.
I don't know. He's still stretching over there. Take a look at him. He's trying to figure out.
How do I do this thing over at first base?
Yeah. They'll put the gear on him in a second.
Let him wear the gear at first base. He might be more comfortable.
Well, no. Listen, when that guy's laying on the ground, it's just a bad picture.
Gambrell just missing ball one.
You know, Gambrell, he has not been sharp tonight. But when you think about this, we're in the top of the fifth. He's got a 5-3 lead.
He's got 6 strikeouts, but you're right. He's not.
He just hasn't been sharp.
No.
I mean, hadn't had that overpowering fastball. Had it early.
We've seen him be dominant at times this year. But this is where you learn how to pitch when you don't have your A stuff, your A command. How to get by and help your team out. That's what he's doing.
Well, it is a luxury, though, to have somebody like Nate Yeskie being your mentor. I mean, these guys come with a lot, and I'm speaking of all the recruits that come into this program as pitchers. They come with a lot of talent, absolutely, but they leave as tremendous pitchers.
And Bryce Femmel's a great example of that. A junior right-hander who came in here, they didn't know what to expect. They didn't know what to do with him. And they turned him into a pitcher, and he's going to leave Oregon State as one of the winningest pitchers in the history of this program.
Well, I remember me and you were here when he was a freshman,
year.
And we both said, what? This guy doesn't throw any. And we're speaking about Femmel, but he didn't throw a ball, I think, for a couple innings, and he got 6 straight outs, and me and you looked at each other like, who's this?
And now the senior who got the win earlier today in game 1 of his doubleheader. 3-2 to Dyer. There's a chopper charging it. Jake Ducard on the move near the mound. Safe at first base. Hustling over to third is Dante Williams. Infield hit, and Williams going from first to third, and right there, that's Jay Johnson aggressive baseball by Williams getting to third.
Well, and you know what? If you're a third base coach, you're going to tell somebody like Williams, point to the finger on anything, you're coming over to third like this, but listen, everything went right. There was nothing done wrong here. This is just what speed does. You see Dyer right there getting down the bag, but when you have Williams at first, and there's Williams, he gets over to third easy, but there was nothing done wrong there. I mean, Ducard came in, made the right play, got it over the first. This is just speed. That's all.
Austin Wells, the 3-hitter, the batter, 1 for 2 tonight. Runners at the corners, 2 outs, and a 2-run lead for the Beavers. So Grant Gambrell approaching 90 pitches now. And a tough spot. Arizona's got an opening to try to get back into the game. Good pitch for strike one. So Grant Gambrell trying to get through this inning. At minimum, get through 5 so he can qualify for the win. Also trying to keep his team in front here. Dangerous Austin Wells at the plate. 350 hitter.
There's a changeup. He's gone back-to-back off speed, and he's relied on his off speed a lot tonight rather than the fastball. I don't know if it's something that Nate Yeskie has noticed. He just doesn't have any command.
The 1-1. Swing and a miss. Again, went with something off speed. And it's 1-2 on Austin Wells, the freshman from Vegas.
Well, that's the 4th straight off speed. The last pitch to Dyer was a breaking ball as well.
got good action with it, though. Dante Williams at third, Matthew Dyer at first. 1 and 2 on Wells. Did he go? Yes, he did. Strikeout number 7 as Grant Gambrell gets out of it. Arizona gets 1, but they strand 2. We head to the bottom of the 5th, middle third of the order coming up for Oregon State as Gambrell gets the strikeout to strand the 2 runners. The football coach at Oregon State, Jonathan Smith, will join us next from Corvallis. (5-3) Oregon State, and speaking of the Beavers, they had their spring football game today, unveiling the new uniforms for Oregon State football. They had a productive spring that wrapped up today, and the baseball team of 5-3 lead the defending national champs. And speaking of the Oregon State football squad, the head coach of the Oregon State Beavers, Jonathan Smith, joining us up here in the booth, along with Wes Clements, Roxy Bernstein with you. And Jonathan, good to see you. You know, you got the here. Look at this. This is the new jersey, the new digs. I like it.
We do too, man. A lot of thought and detail went into it. We showed our guys yesterday before the spring scrimmage, and they were jumping up and down. And again, I think it's stuck with a little tradition, speaks to our history a little bit, but has great style to it. So we like it.
Were you involved in making these at all, in the design?
Not totally, no. When I got here, there's been a lot of time and thought put into it, and I'm not very creative, so that kept me out of it.
Except when it comes to designing plays.
Yeah, on occasion, yeah.
DH Ryan Ober leading off here in the bottom of the 5th inning. And you now going into year 2. What's it like having a year under your belt at your alma mater now as the head coach?
Well, it feels a whole lot better just doing the second time of doing things, just like spring practice was. And, that first year establishing a lot of things, whether it's your culture, your scheme, and really recruiting the type of kids you're looking for / developing the kids you got. So we feel like we got some real momentum going, and we're enjoying doing the work.
Ryan Ober takes outside. He's 0 for 2 tonight. And I was over there at your spring game earlier today at Reser Stadium, and some good excitement, some good energy. And we were talking about it before we went on air, Jonathan, is that I just was mesmerized by Jake Luton. Your quarterback was granted a 6th year by the NCAA. Looks like a completely different player to me.
Yeah, Jake's worked really hard in the offseason. Really, changing his body a little bit. He's lost some weight, and he's moving around great. I also think just being the second year in the system of learning things and having a year under his belt and then being able to follow that up with the same system, same coaching, he's taking advantage of it. Worked really hard, and I thought he looked good today, and he's looked good all spring.
Well, the Pac-12 takes a lot of criticism on a national basis as far as football goes. And is it valid, warranted?
I wouldn't say so at all. I think that we got a great league that's very competitive. I think we got some big-time players in the league and coaches. And when it's that competitive, and a lot of times from top to bottom, you're going to have some teams beating some people that maybe across the country you don't expect, but the league is really competitive.
Getting a pinch hitter for Oregon State, Zach Taylor is going to bat for Troy Claunch here in the bottom of the 5th. And Jonathan Smith, the head football coach of the Beavers, with us. And for you take over the program, you inherit the players that you got, and you try to make do the first year. But those players, they seem to really grow. And the other thing I noticed about your team today, Jonathan, in the spring game was the depth you have on the defensive side. And I know that's been a point of emphasis for you to improve, but it just seems like you're more athletic on that side of the football. What were some of the meetings like for you and your staff when you're planning out what to do defensively going into year 2?
Yeah, we knew we had some work to do, and it did start with our guys getting bigger, stronger, and faster, and they put that work in the offseason. We played a bunch of young guys last year, and then a year, for them to continue to mature and grow. I think that's shown up, and we're moving around better. We needed to create some depth too through recruiting, and we've got some guys that we're going to be able to plug in and play right away. That adds to our depth.
Tell me how hard it is to make a schedule, your non-conference schedule. I mean, there's a lot of people in the Pac-12 that would love to have the SEC coming to our yards. I mean, for many years we went to their yards, and Pac-12 took care of them. I'm speaking of the SCs and all those kind of when they were powers. But how hard is it to get an SEC team to come here?
Oh, it's tough. There's no question. And some of that scheduling things, they're so far out in advance to be able to line that up to work for both ends. We're excited about our opener. We got Oklahoma State coming over, and then we'll return to go see them. And so those type of agreements, I'm into it.
And last year, of course, the first game for you were at Ohio State last year, so it appears that the scheduling is aggressive.
It is. And like I said, it's been planned for quite a while. And we're excited about when we get to play, and wherever it is, we're going to go out there and go. And we like our schedule this year, opening up at home and then going to Hawaii and playing a good football team there.
Zach Taylor gets a sacrifice bunt down. And the other thing is, the big announcement recently is a strong commitment to your program. As Jay Johnson coming out to argue with plate umpire Joe Maiden, and discussion going on, and not sure what the frustration from Jay is here. They did get the out at first base, and advancing to second was Ryan Ober. There's one out.
Wouldn't you like to have them mic'd right now?
I'd always like to have Jay Johnson mic'd.
Yeah, that's my point.
What for you? What are some of those conversations like for you when you're talking to referees? On the
I'm glad we're not mic'd up. I will say that. It's a competitive. I will say I do think all these officials, umpires, they work hard at it, and they're trying as hard as we are. And sometimes things don't go exactly how you want them to.
No, what I was getting to was the commitment that has been made. The new refurbished weight room that's coming. What does that mean to your program? A big commitment financially also from Oregon State.
Oh, it's huge. We raised a ton of money to get that done, and it's going to be game-changing, not just for the recruiting aspect because the thing is going to be totally first class, but for the guys that are currently working in that weight room on the roster now to have some more space, top-of-the-line equipment, fuel station, access to the practice field. It's going to be game-changing.
We talked earlier this week, Jonathan, and you said the culture of your program is established in the weight room, and it's vital.
Yeah, it's huge, and I believe that they spend more time there than really anywhere else, and so the work ethic and doing things together really starts there.
Elliott Willie, a pop-up, and the shortstop Cameron Cannon makes the catch. 2 gone.
Well, I've seen you on the sidelines, and you're high energy, but you're positive. Have you always been like that?
I try to have an optimistic approach. While you're coaching, I think you got to be positive with them. I think you got to tell them the truth, but in an optimistic way to be able to tell them how to get it fixed, or they're capable of doing better than that. And so, I think that's how you describe my style.
In an era where coaches, if they remotely raise their voice at players now, it's on social media and it's everywhere. I mean, we saw it in the NCAAs, right? The iconic Michigan State head coach in basketball, all of a sudden he was a bad person. And there's a happy median, has to be somewhere, no?
There's no question. And you got to remember, these coaches are competitive too, and they're going to have some energy and opinion and voice going to it. And so, Tom Izzo, a legend, has done it a great way from a long time.
Jake Ducart, the batter, 2 outs, Ober at second base, and a 5-3 Beavers lead.
But the people that came to Izzo's defense, they're all in the NBA, and they thank him for how he was with them, because he was a father figure, and he had to raise his voice at the right times. And that's the beauty for coaching and managing and whatever you're at. It's not while it's going on, although you have fun, it's 10 years down the road when they call back and say, thank you, coach.
I think that's what we have as coaches, the opportunity to really mentor / develop these young men beyond just their playing days, like you're saying.
Now, did you have any interaction with Pat Casey here?
Oh, yeah. So when I was a player here, we used to play noon hoops. We played basketball.
These are legendary stories.
Yeah, Tinkle just left. This is beauty. You guys are the best.
Pat Casey is. It's been great being able to reconnect with him. And shoot, Wayne Tinkle, we spent 2 years at Montana together.
Right.
And so we've known each other for a while. We got a bunch of good people around here at Oregon State.
Pat used to run those courts, didn't he?
Oh, gosh. You talk about a competitive guy again. And he's still in great shape. I don't even know how old he is. He looks like he's 40, but those were fun times.
But you used to hang out. You'd just come to ball games here when you were a student at Oregon State.
It looked a little different. I'd hang out down this right field line and watch some games. And shoot, since I've been back, I've been coming to a bunch of them now.
There's now Casey Corner down the right field line, which they just added this year, and just how this program has grown in support.
Awesome. It is, man. This is a great setting for a ball game. I came out Thursday night. Place was packed again. The energy, the fans going.
The weather was unbelievable Thursday night.
It was nice. It was nice.
3 national championships doesn't hurt the case either, does it?
No, it doesn't.
3-2. Ducart lays off, and he gets the walk. 2 on. Andy Armstrong coming up for Oregon State, down to the 8th spot in the lineup as there is activity in the Arizona bullpen. And Adley Rutschman is at one point a football player.
Oh, yeah.
You ever revisit those conversations with him?
Okay, yeah, I did. A couple of months ago, we were together at some type of function, and he comes up to me talking about, hey, if you promise me I can kick next year, I'll come back. And
Really?
kick. And I'm like, okay, yeah, heck, come on back. Well, I'm pretty sure he was just pulling my chain because I think he's all headed to having a big-time career in playing this baseball.
Yeah, when you're going to be the number 1 pick in the draft.
Yeah.
Although
he's an awesome kid, though. I'll tell you that, man. Works hard, low ego, all about the team, and obviously very talented.
Although we did talk about it earlier, he's got it on the resume and the video proof that he has tackled Christian McCaffrey.
I've heard about that. I haven't seen it, but I've heard about him not being shy out there.
Ask him, he'll tell you.
Yeah.
So David Lawn, the longtime pitching coach, are on the West Coast. Heading to the mound now. We'll go back to the Arizona dugout as David Lawn's been at USC. He's been at Cal. He's been at Nevada. He's been at
Good man.
Cal State Fullerton. And he was with Jay Johnson in Nevada and went to Tucson with him. And David Lawn, who's been to Omaha a number of times, he's heading back to the dugout. And Andrew Nardi trying to weave through a tough spot here, 2 on, 2 out.
He's had to dodge some bullets the entire game, and quite frankly, he's not only given up 5 runs.
Ball 1. How are you as a baseball player, John?
Oh, I used to think I was good. I loved it. I played in high school. I was a pitcher, but when you get to these college ages, I wasn't nearly that good. But I loved it. Grew up in L.A., so I was a Dodger fan. Going to all kinds of Dodger games and playing in the summertime, and that's why I think I love coming back to watching Oregon State here play baseball.
You're not one of those guys that you see sometimes when you're out at a bar or something, and then they say that you find out the person was in baseball, and then they end up saying, well, I was in semi-pro, and I had a chance to go pro, but my shoulder got hurt.
No, not that.
No?
Not that. I will say, so they had me throw out a first pitch last year, and they had the radar guns out, and I was like,
Did you go up on the mound?
Oh yeah, went to the mound thinking like, okay, maybe I can hit 80 miles an hour here. I think I threw it like 65. So disappointing.
2 and 1.
That's when you were happy you're a football coach.
Yeah.
And then one time I was the quarterback here.
Yeah, one time.
And remarkably, you came here as a walk-on.
Yeah, I did. And I had a great time, and that's what we're trying to recreate here, of just guys from anywhere and everywhere come in here, you work hard, and the experience that Oregon State allows, and playing Pac-12 football against some big-time schools. So I lived that experience, and now we're trying to give it back to the kids we got here.
That's just built-in motivation for your players.
I think
when they come in, they say, hey, look at me. I was a walk-on. Look what I did.
Keep on working. I've done it. And not just on the football end. Like, I've lived in Corvallis, and some of these kids on occasion maybe get homesick or something, but I can sit there in the seat and say, you know what, I've done that too. I had to experience that as well.
Nardi is not too thrilled. And that pitch right there, Rocks, I mean, it's got to be a strike. It has to be.
He's now behind 3 and 1. And this could be his last batter of the night.
But Joe Maiden listen, he's been consistently calling that pitch a ball.
3 and 1 on Andy Armstrong is 0 for 2 tonight. 2 on, 2 out. Nardi, the 3-1. Foul back. Full count. But what does it mean to you to be coaching at your alma mater?
Oh, yeah, it means a ton. Just like saying, because I've lived the experience here as a player and then be able to come back. And the people we got in the program and the athletic department on the day-to-day, it's pretty special for me. And we enjoy the work that we're doing. And we've got some work to do, and we're diving into it each day.
3-2. Rolled foul. Do it again. Is Nardi north of 100 pitches now. And your players know your story about how you came here as a walk-on before you told them, or did anybody have any research on you?
A few. I think it got publicized when I did come back more, because nowadays, I played 20 years ago. These guys aren't even 20 years old, some of the guys on the roster, so they were pretty young when I'm playing.
Your receivers here weren't bad when you were playing.
Maybe, yeah, exactly. You want to look at a quarterback, you got to have some guys.
You got Chad Johnson and T.J. Hushmanzada. That's pretty good.
Yep, they were. They'd look really good at times.
Chad who?
Ocho Cinco to you.
That's what I thought.
Again, the payoff to Andy Armstrong. Ball 4, and they are loaded for Kyler McMahon.
Well, I would like to think that they're going to go with the pen at this point in time. Nardi's obviously had trouble with his command the entire year, but this game, he's just been all over the place, Rock.
4 walks, he's hit a batter.
Dyer is looking in.
But the one thing is, he's given up 7 hits, and really the only one that was sharply hit was the homer by Jones, who's on deck.
No, you're right, Rox. I mean, we've talked about Nardi. He's not a hard thrower, but he never throws the same pitch, the same speed twice.
0 for 1 with a walk and a run scored for McMahon.
And there are left-handers, and you know them, you've seen them, where if you're in the dugout, you're in the stands. Even some people in the stands go, I could hit that guy, because they're not overpowering. And you're sitting in the dugout, I got this guy, and somehow, some way, you just went 0 for 4. Now, there was a lot of traffic on the bases, but the guy gets out of it all the time.
Bases full, the 1-strike pitch, 0-2 on Kyler McMahon.
See, this is Jay Johnson. Gary T's in that dugout going, why don't you just do that all the time?
It's Jonathan Smith with us, the football coach here for Oregon State. And the cool thing is how you've brought back your former coaches. Dennis Erickson's been around. Mike Riley was on your staff before he left to go to the Alliance, which certainly
it's awesome.
Not in existence anymore. To first base, handled by Austin Wells. And Nardi strands 3 to get out of it. Jonathan, great to see you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
It's a fun day today watching the football over at Reser Stadium. And have a great offseason. We'll see you in the fall.
We'll do it. Thanks, guys.
Jonathan Smith, the football coach of the Beavs. His Beavers up 5-3 as we go to the 6th. 5-3, the defending national champion Oregon State Beavers with the lead as we head to the 6th, middle third of the order for Arizona. Nick Quintana, Cameron Cannon, and Ryan Holgate due up. And our thanks to the football coach, Jonathan Smith from Oregon State. So you've had the hoops coach.
Plethora.
The football coach, yes. A cavalcade of stars.
You had to top me with a cavalcade, didn't you? I mean, you just couldn't leave it at plethora for me. You take a look at Dylan Pierce. And again, every Beaver that they run out there is going to have some gaudy numbers up there. You see his ERA at 1.46. Now, if you take a look at what the issue has been, even though he's got the low ERA, you got to take a look at the walks. 24 innings, 17 walks. So Pierce has had some trouble with his command, which is abnormal for a Beaver staff.
15th appearance for the senior from Central Point, Oregon, and a transfer from Southwestern Oregon Community College.
We talked about Gambrell. I mean, his last start at ASU was very taxing on him. I mean, he's going through that Sun Devil lineup, and he beat him, and he got it done. Today, he threw 93 pitches. Only 50 were strikes, Rox, and we talked about his command, but he's able to get through it because of his stuff.
Nick Quintana walked and scored in the 4th. He is 0 for 1 tonight. 5 innings from Grant Gambrell tonight, giving up 3 runs on 5 hits. He struck out 7, but he walked 3, threw 2 wild pitches, and for him, he wasn't sharp.
No. But you remember
just off the outside.
Rox, when Rutschman at first got belly up over there, and I said, that's a bad sight. Maybe Bailey said, head coach said, you know what? I kind of agree because Rutsch is behind the dish right now.
So Adley Rutschman now catching as Zach Taylor, who hit for Zach Klonch in the bottom of the 5th, takes over. A really good defensive first baseman. That ball's ripped to left. And Nick Quintana with a line drive single. 6 hits for Arizona and a leadoff base runner and a start for the Wildcats in the 6th. And Cameron Cannon coming up, who's 0 for 1 with a walk.
Well, don't go anywhere. I mean, listen, Arizona has struggled this year, but we know they can hit. We talked about their batting average coming in. They're second in the conference, and they have some guys that can lead the yard. You see Quintana right there. That's just a hanging breaking ball, and Pierce has got good stuff, but Quintana does not miss it. And just like that, no outs, tying run at the dish. Top of the 6th.
So the junior shortstop, Cameron Cannon, strike 1 from Pierce. Wildcats Trying to get something going here, trying to salvage the final game of this series against number 4 Oregon State.
This is a fun time. I mean, once we hit May and we're close, college baseball, for me, it's the best month. Because all the jockeying to try to get in, national host rocks, regional host.
Nice job by Rutschman knocking it down.
You know, we talked a lot about UCLA, Stanford, Oregon State, Arizona State. How about the job that Andrew Checketts is doing at UC Santa Barbara? Having a tremendous year over there. And
they're being talked about as a potential host for regional, which is interesting because in past years their facility wasn't up to par, but they've made some improvements, and there is the possibility of UCSB hosting this year on campus.
Well, there is. Listen, the RPI is going to work against UC Santa Barbara Rocks. They don't have anybody on their schedule that's going to be able to obtain and continue.
Although their RPI is number 6 right now, according to D1 Baseball.
Right, but who they play, who's left on their schedule, there's nobody going to help them. It's going to hurt them no matter what they do. Now, you mentioned the last time they did host were in Lake Elsinore.
At the Diamond, which is the ballpark of the Lake Elsinore Storm in the California League, which is the single-A affiliate in the Cal League of the Padres. Rolled toward third, just foul off the bat of Cannon.
But now there has been some rumors that they could possibly bring in some portable lights there and expand the stands there in UC Santa Barbara. Boy, would that be fun, wouldn't you?
That would be a blast to do a regional in Santa Barbara. And pretty safe to say that UCLA, Oregon State, and Stanford will all be hosts. And in all likelihood, all three could very well end up being national seeds.
Well, right now, they are. Absolutely they are.
But there's UCSB. This is the NCAA's RPI. And the Gauchos are 5th. Andrew Checkett's team is 5th in the RPI.
They can really swing the bat. They really can. Better than I have seen them in a long time.
And it wasn't that long ago that the Gauchos were in Omaha in the College World Series.
And you happened to be at the regional where they knocked off Louisville.
No, I was there with Fullerton.
Oh, that's right. That's right. When Fullerton. It happened to be.
I didn't have that super.
Well, Danny McDonald, the head coach at Louisville, does not want anybody.
He doesn't want to see the Big West. That's ball 4. Quintana was running, and he'll get second base because Cannon draws the walk. And there's 2 on, and the crowd frustrated, thinking it was a strike as they're barking at Joe Maiden.
Well, there's Bailey. He's obviously not happy. We're going to get a look at that last pitch. Joe Maiden has had trouble from both dugouts. I don't know, Rox. It looks like a ball to me.
I think it was a ball. And Arizona has 2 on with nobody out, and Ryan Holgate coming up, the right fielder. So some frustration from the Oregon State dugout, and I wonder, as Joe Maiden took out the lineup card there, if somebody was thrown out. I didn't necessarily see emotion, but when you see that the card come out,
yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe a warning was given.
Possibly, but Bailey's standing right there. He's not going anywhere.
No.
Let's see what Jay Johnson elects to do.
That's Ryan Gibson positioning the defense next to Pat Bailey.
Cats have first and second and no outs.
Ryan Holgate, a ground out and a strikeout. He's 0 for 2 as he looks at strike 1.
But see, here's the thing. When you play somebody like Oregon State and you're Jay Johnson, first and second, you might think, okay, let me bunt Holgate and then let Bossier hopefully drive in the tying runs. But you're on the road. 5 runs not going to win this game. It's going to tie this game. And you're Jay Johnson. You have an offense. And if one thing you guys have done this year is hit, you're going to let them hit.
1-1 on Holgate, just to bring kind of things back to Oregon State. You know where Andrew Checkett's played, right? He pitched for Oregon State.
There you go.
Played 1 year at Florida, then 3 here for the Beavers. And as a senior, Andrew Checketts, the head coach at UCSB, was 11-1. And he was the Pac-12 North Player of the Year. That's when the league was in 2 separate divisions, the Pac-12 North and the Pac-12 South. And the six-pack, as it was called, were the 2 Bay Area schools, Cal and Stanford. two LA schools, USC, UCLA, and the two Arizona schools, the Wildcats and ASU. The Pac-12 North consisted of Washington and Washington State, Oregon State. And Oregon at the time that the Checkets was playing at Oregon State, Ducks hadn't brought baseball back yet. And Utah was not in the league yet. So they were scrambling to get teams out of the North.
Well, it's interesting how Southern California had a lot to do with Oregon, right? George Horton leaves Cal State Fullerton, go up to Oregon, and George's club has had a solid year this year.
And they're loaded. A single, back-to-back walks in Arizona. The base is loaded with nobody out as Jake Mulholland. Lefty is up in the Oregon State bullpen. Brandon Bossier coming up. He singled and scored in the fifth. He's 1 for 2 as Arizona has something brewing here. But you look at, we showed you the RPIs, but UCLA is the number 1. Oregon State, number 3. And if you look at D1 baseball, Stanford's number 9. As Nate Yeske coming out and makes a signal toward the bullpen. So Oregon State wants to get Mulholland into the game. So a threat for the Wildcats in the 6th of a 5-3 ball game. And the lefty coming out of the bullpen. Jake Mulholland coming in a tough spot. Bases loaded, nobody out. Beavs clinging to a 2-run lead. Lefty, the junior, Jake Mulholland out of the bullpen. Tremendous numbers for Mulholland, the junior, out of the Oregon State bullpen, as Mulholland from Snohomish, Washington.
Well, Jake, Roxy, as you know, as a freshman, Pat Casey relied on this young man a lot in the back end of the bullpen, and he was not afraid to run this freshman out there. And you take a look at his numbers, and this is why. I mean, he has developed. He was great as a freshman, but he has really turned in to a standout left-hander.
So Mulholland, with the bases full, nobody out, and the 7, 8, 9 spots coming up for Arizona. And a real opportunity for the Wildcats here. And the lefty Mulholland, after Dylan Pierce faced 3 batters, they all reached. A single, 2 walks. Grant Gambrell started, went the first 5. And it looks like Jay Johnson may go to his bench here and go for a pinch hitter with Bossier due up. And it looks like Blake Paw will pinch hit for Arizona. Paw, sophomore from Scottsdale. 174 batter. He's just 4 for 23 on the year, but he does have a home run. Blake Paw pinch hitting for Brandon Bossier. 6th inning, 2-run lead that the Beavers are clinging to right now. And Mulholland trying to clean up this mess left for him by Pierce. Infield a double play depth for the Beavers as Mulholland fires strike 1 with an off speed. And Arizona, this is a team that, look, they still have an opportunity as we have over a month to go. But if they can somehow find a way to win this game, it would go a long way toward Arizona keeping themselves in the conversation. But they need to get in a real hot streak here down the stretch.
Well, they really do, and it starts with a win tonight. Their RPI, Rocks, is sitting at 85 now. The remaining schedule for the Wildcats in the pack at Stanford, which is crucial. You have to win that series up there. That's going to help your RPI. And then right after that, they host Oregon at home. And then SC, they go on the road to Penn State, which is interesting, right? And then they're at Washington State.
And they also have a midweek game against Arizona State, which they would need to win. Because that could be a help, and a strikeout looking at Blake Paul. Mulholland comes in and gets the punch out. And now he's one pitch away from getting out of this.
Well, he is. This is just all good stuff. And Mulholland's got immaculate command. And watch the location on this fastball. Just freezes him. And we talked about Rutschman, the stuff he does behind the plate. You see those hands. I mean, Pat Casey Case used to always tell me, just you want to watch somebody catch a baseball? Watch this young man.
The master of pitch framing 101.
Mm-hmm.
Justin Wiley, 0 for 1 with a sacrifice. Bases loaded. Just low.
But you talked about
at third, Cameron Cannon at second, and Ryan Holgate at first.
You talked about D1 baseball. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention that. I mean, for me, it's the best thing that's ever happened
to
college.
Bible of college.
It is. Kendall Rogers, Aaron Fitt, Eric Sorensen, the Stitchhead, Mark Etheridge.
Got to give Shotgun
Spratling, and David Seifert. Don't forget him with scouting. They do a tremendous job.
1-0 the count on Wiley. Kendall Rogers was actually out in Tempe, technically Phoenix, at Phoenix Muni, where Arizona State's new home for baseball for the last few years. But he came out to see the Beavers in Arizona State in that great series last weekend where Oregon State took 2 out of 3.
I think he thought he was going to get a tan, something like that. Didn't work. 100%, no way.
Mulholland spins, but no throw.
Now that right there, folks, is when a pitcher is not comfortable with what pitch was called, because there's no reason in the world to do an inside move right there with the bases loaded. Pitcher will tell you in a hurry if he liked what was put down.
Senior Wiley, big opportunity here. Gets under it, skies it, foul behind first. Zach Taylor giving way, and it lands in foul ground as Jake Harvey, the closest one to it, the second baseman, could not make the play. And Oregon State people are kind of looking around at each other going, remember we saw that in Omaha? That was a good omen for us.
Well, yeah, it did happen. I guarantee any Arkansas fans don't want to see something that looks like that, do they?
Dave Van Horn does not want to see that.
No.
Of course, that was what happened in the 9th inning. That would have been the potential out for Arkansas to win the national championship.
Extended the inning.
The play was not made, and the Beavers rallied and won their 3rd national title. And that made it 3 national championships for the Pac-12 in the last 7 seasons.
Is that pretty good?
And 3 different schools, with Arizona winning 1, UCLA, and Oregon State. Strike called. 1-2 on Justin Wiley. And that's also 4 championship series appearances for the Pac-12 in the last 7 years. Now, Arizona, in Jay Johnson's first season, lost that championship series to Coastal Carolina, which you talked about. Wiley pops it up in front of the plate. Up the third base line. Adley Rutschman gives way, and in foul ground, Jake Ducart makes the catch, and there are 2 outs. The bases remain loaded.
Well, here's what you like. You like the aggressiveness by Rutschman getting out there, and he's turning around and trying to get behind it. But a good job by Ducart at third, just calling him off.
Number 3, Tony Bullard.
So now it's up to the pinch hitter, Tony Bullard, batting for Arizona. The bases were loaded with nobody out. Arizona still the bases loaded with 2 outs and have not scored. So Bullard, the freshman from Riverside, who's also a pitcher. But has not taken the mound yet this season. But here is Bullard. And the pitch. Swing and a miss. I can't think of number 3 and seeing a pitcher / hitter in Arizona without thinking of Bobby Dahlbeck. Remember him?
Yeah, he's kind of good.
He
huh?
was pretty good. The Red Sox system now. Bullard is a 200 batter with a home run. He's 5 for 25. That's knocked down by Rutschman. 1 ball, 1 strike on Bullard pinch hitting. This is the 9th spot in the order.
That's the luxury when you have somebody like Rutschman behind the dish and you're calling pitches from that bench. Not afraid to call off-speed pitches because you know this youngster right here is going to keep the ball in front of him some way, somehow.
Quintana at third, Cannon at second, Holgate at first. Jake Mulholland. The 1-1. It's 1-2. Boy, how big of a lift would this give the Beavers if Mulholland can escape and leave the bases full?
Well, obviously it's the biggest part of the game for both clubs right now. Arizona, if they are not able to get any runs in this inning after bases loaded and no outs, not good.
Just low to Tony Bullard, 2-2.
Oh, Rutsch wanted that thing.
Two balls, two strikes in Bullard. Mulholland. The pitch. Driven deep to left field off the bat of Bullard, but at the wall coming in at the edge of the warning track. Preston Jones makes the catch. Mulholland escapes. Arizona leaves the bases full. To the bottom of the sixth, top of the order coming up. 5-3, Oregon State.
And rehydrates.
For the 40th straight year, the NFL Draft is on ESPN, and ABC will have its own unique coverage for the first time, hosted by the College Game Day crew. It all comes to you from Nashville. It starts with first round Thursday at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. All 3 days of the draft are also on ESPN Deportes, ESPN Radio, NFL Network, and the ESPN app. Wonder the first Pac-12 player will go. Probably Andre Dillard, offensive lineman from Washington State. Somewhere in the top 10, 15 picks of the draft.
I'm just going to trust you.
Yeah.
I'm just going to trust you.
New pitcher for the Wildcats, Avery Weems. After 5 innings from Andrew Nardi, gave up 5 runs on 7 hits, walked 4, struck out 3. Top of the order for Oregon State. They're the numbers for Weems on the year, but what a job that Jake Mulholland did.
Well,
to get out of that, bases loaded, nobody out, and keeping Arizona off the board.
Well, he's been in those high leverage situations since he was a freshman.
Also, Blake Paw, who pinch hit, stays in the game to play left field. Preston Jones homered in the 4th, his 2nd of the year, and it's 0-2. Now it bounces from Avery Weems. So 5 innings from Nardi. Turns it over to Weems, his senior from Flagstaff and Yavapai Junior College. And after doing a little research,
yes,
it appears the connections run deeper with Andrew Checketts.
Well, it figures you'd ask me that before, but it does. This is good work. And Twitter is amazing.
Bouncer foul by Preston Jones.
Twitter will give you everything you want to know and stuff that you really don't want to, but this we really do. Pat Bailey, head coach, interim head coach of the Beavers, was actually Andrew Checkett's high school baseball coach at West Lynn High School.
Jones lays off. It's 2-2. So Bailey in his 12th year on staff as the interim head coach is Pat Casey, retired after winning the championship last year. Although Jones fouls it off, and there is a clause if Pat Casey wants to come back.
Are you opening it?
No, I'm just stating a fact here.
Put that can and don't even open it.
I'm just stating a fact that there is a date, July 1st, that if he wants to come back and resume his coaching duties at Oregon State, he can. That's all I'm saying.
All right.
Jones strikes out. And there's one gone in the last of the 6th inning.
Up next, the second baseman, Jake Harvey.
Jake Harvey, the batter, 1 for 3 with a run.
But we talked about the projections. D1 Baseball came out, the field of 64. The national seeds that were their projections were UCLA, Oregon State, Vanderbilt, Louisville, Georgia, Stanford, Mississippi State, and Georgia Tech. Now, what's very similar about 5 of those clubs.
Bunted up the first baseline, stumbling off the mound is Weems, and that just does stay fair. They tried the third baseline twice. It's worked. They do the first base side this time. And Jake Harvey bunts his way on. And Jay Johnson has to be just shaking his head. You got to be kidding me.
Well, normally, I mean, this is very interesting. I mean, listen, if on a dirt field, a lot of times the ground crew, if you're home, they will make the dirt. If you're a team that's got some wheels and have some bunters, they'll try to arrange the dirt to where balls like this stay fair.
Home field advantage.
And yeah, but this right here, I've never seen this. I mean, both sides, the ball's just not going to go foul.
So a runner aboard for Adley Rutschman, who's 0 for 2 with a sac fly tonight.
Somewhere Pat Casey's going, you finally found out what I did before it.
Rutschman lines it over third. Fair ball down the line. Into the corner. Jake Harvey racing around third. He will score. Rutschman is driven in 2 tonight, an RBI double. And just like that, how the game changes, right? Arizona thinks they're coming back and they've got a real opportunity. And Oregon State strikes and they extend the lead.
Well, it's a breaking ball right down the middle, and Rutsch just wants to take a look at it. Is it fair? And just inside that left field line. And just like that, you called it, Rock. 6-3 runner at second. And they just continue to roll and roll along.
Rutschman's now driven in 43 on the year. Avery Weems will face Ryan Ober now, and for Adley Rutschman, only his 5th double. I say only because he's got 13 home runs.
And you know what? The only thing he cares about is that inside the park home run, period.
That's true.
That's it.
He hit one here Thursday night, the 2nd of his career. Runner at second, 1 out. Weems the pitch.
But what I started to tell you about very similar characteristics about those national seeds that D1 baseball projected, 4 of them in the top 10 in pitching and pitching ERA. A 5th one is 11th, and that's Louisville. Not a surprise, right? You can pitch, you can win.
That's been the key for this Oregon State program. They've had great pitching. Last year had a great offense with the great pitching. That's why they were the best team in the country and won the national championship.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, those Bruins.
Nice mix for John Savage this
boy,
year.
They are good. They really are good.
That pitching staff, but the offense, it's a veteran offense now. Guys like Ryan Kreidler and Michael Tolia, they're veteran players. Fouled off.
You saw him 3 years ago. I mean, Kreidler came in, Tole came in at the same time, Chase Strump came in at the same time, and you saw them then with Stronach, and you said, "Boy, these guys are going to be something in a couple years," and they have not disappointed. And then you add Garrett Mitchell, who's now a sophomore. He is in right field, and then Cardenas is a freshman behind the dish, and he has been outstanding. Kevin Kendall was a freshman last year. Kreidler had some trouble at shortstop, so they moved him to third, and then John Savage put the freshman Kendall at shortstop, and he has been outstanding. And, of course, you have the number 1 draft pick for the Diamondbacks, McLean in center field, who everybody thought was going to sign, who didn't sign.
And he ends up going to UCLA and just adding to the firepower that John Savage has and why they are the unanimous number 1 team in the country right now.
And they're minus Jeremy Idens, who has been out for over a month. And for me, he's their catalyst.
Ryan Ober lays off. 2 balls, 2 strikes. If you're looking at the projections, right now 6 Pac-12 teams should get in. And
yes. For me.
With the 3 top teams with Oregon State, UCLA, and Stanford. Then you have Arizona State with an RPI of 31 coming into today. They lost today. They're 30-8. Ober laces one to left. Rutschman being waved around third. Blake Paugh throwing to the plate. Rutschman slides across. Taking second is Ober. 7-3, Oregon State.
Well, this ball's up in the zone, deposits it in left center. But, folks, watch Rutschman at second base. We talked about the type of player he is, but he's a base runner as well. I mean, he took off and turned left at third, and it was a great turn. And if it wasn't a great turn, he wouldn't have been safe. But that is the leader of this team.
That's how he was able to track down Christian McCaffrey.
Well, there you go. Well, no, he's going to tell you that's how he got the inside-the-park home run. I'm just telling you. Forget all that stuff. He's got an inside-the-park home run.
Beavers have struck for two. Zach Taylor at the plate, a sacrifice in the fifth. Hitting only 120 on the year. And he takes a strike. So ASU coming into today 31 at the RPI, and that was according to D1 Baseball. Oregon with an RPI of 32. They were just swept at home by Stanford, but George Horton's team right in the mix.
Well, they are. I mean, UCLA, Oregon State, Stanford, Oregon, Arizona State, and Cal are the six that, for me, if it happened today, they're safe and they're in.
Rolled to shorts. Breaking for third is Ober. Taylor is out as Cameron Cannon throws him out at first base. They're two-way and Ober at third. And Elliott Willie coming up.
Now, if you look below Cal, I think USC is interesting, Roxy. They're sitting around 85 right now, but their remaining schedule is Stanford, Oregon, Oregon State.
So there's opportunities.
And at Arizona, they're at Oregon State. So it's there to be had.
And Cal's RPI jumped significantly with their win Friday night at UCLA. And Cal's played a tough schedule. They went down to Baton Rouge. And they dropped 2 out of 3 to LSU. They easily could have swept that series.
They could.
They had leads in the 9th inning in the other 2 games, which they lost.
Well, Cal's remaining schedule, if they play 500 or a game below, they're in. And their RPI will jump. They finish with Oregon at home, at Utah, versus Stanford at home, ASU at home, and then up and they finish at Washington.
Shallow center, and it falls in. Elliott Willie has driven in 3 tonight. And it's a 3-run bottom of the 6th, and Oregon State has blown this one open, an 8-3 game.
Well, it wasn't hit hard, hit off the end of the bat, but it doesn't matter. 8th run for the Beavers just came across the plate. But, you know, you talked about it early, Roxy. A lot of balls weren't hit hard early for the Beavers. A lot of C&I singles, but...
Here's Jake Ducard.
They all count.
Game.
They all count.
It really is. The top of the inning, Arizona's got a real threat. Down 5-3, bases loaded, nobody out.
Well, you know what I say.
They don't score. You flip to the bottom half of the inning, and Oregon State puts a 3 spot up on the board.
Well, it's the best game in the world. Nothing better.
Down low to Ducard. Elliott Willie had 1 RBI all season. He's got 3 tonight. In tight, ball 2. Arizona's got a game Tuesday night. They'll play Grand Canyon at home and before they head to Stanford next weekend. Those midweek games are important. Fouled out of play.
Well, we've talked about midweeks here on the West Coast. There's no freebies.
No, there's, especially when you're in Southern California, you've got all that great baseball down there. Though it is a little bit of a down year for the Big West. UCSB is good, and Irvine is really good, but
it's a down year.
Fullerton's not at the level we've seen Cal State Fullerton be at. Weak ground ball left side. Nick Quintana from behind the mound. Side retired, but the damage is done. 3 more for the Beavs. Top of the order coming up for Arizona, but Oregon State puts up 3 more.
It's the Beavers in Corvallis doing what they are used to doing. Runs and pitching. We're heading to the 7th. Tomorrow, our Sunday night baseball game is a series finale between the Braves and Indians at Progressive Field. Our coverage begins at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific, with Baseball Tonight, Sunday night countdown on ESPN and the ESPN app.
What's up with the inflection there?
Would you stop being jealous? Just stop being jealous.
I'm clearly jealous.
That's
You
what
got
I
me.
thought.
You're trying to show that Adley Rutschman mastered pitch framing 101. Is that
Yes.
your example of you're trying to say that you passed Broadcaster 101?
I'm.
Dante Williams leads off the 7th.
I will never, ever say that. Ever. I'm fully aware who I am. I know my place.
Know your limitations.
Stay in the box.
Stay in your lane.
Mine's a box.
Good night at the plate for Williams, who's 2 for 2 with an RBI and a run. He's also walked, as Jake Mulholland did a masterful job of pitching out of a bases-loaded, none-out jam. In the 6th inning, and it seemed like a tenuous 5-3 lead at the time. It's now 8-3 Beavers, as they rallied for 3 runs after Mulholland was able to pull his Houdini act. 2-1 on Williams. I haven't worked in my favorite stat yet.
Go
It's
ahead.
coming, Just missed to Williams. The crowd didn't agree.
Well,
3-1.
Rox, you talked about the Big West being down. I mean, there's some streaks on the line for postseason play. Florida State.
Cal State Fullerton.
And Cal State Fullerton. Florida State's over 40 years straight. Mike Martin, of course, he's retiring. And then the Titans, 27 straight years. And it's
Rick
just
Vanderhook, he's under some pressure to try to extend that streak. It's
Well,
going to be awfully tough.
the only way they can get in is if they win the Big West. That's it. They're not going to get there on RPI. They can't.
3-2. Ground ball at the first base line that trickles foul off the bat of Williams. And you look at, for example, the Big West, where Irvine and Santa Barbara are having really good seasons, especially the Gauchos. It's UCSB 8-1. They're 30-5. They'd won 12 straight coming into today, as Williams draws a walk to get a start for the Wildcats in the 7th.
Up next, the catcher, Matthew Dyer.
Here's Matthew Dyer, who is 1 for 3, an infield hit in the 5th. Cal Poly is in 2nd. Larry Lee's team 10-2 in the Big West. They've won 6 straight coming into today. They are 19-17 overall, so they're a half game behind UCSB. Irvine is 8-4, as the Anteaters are 25-9. Fly ball way up there and left, a towering fly ball waiting for it to come down is Preston Jones, and there's one away.
I wasn't sure if Jones picked that up initially. Armstrong went out there to point it out, but Jones didn't move for a long time there.
That ball was way up there. Cal State Fullerton is 4-5. They're 16-19 overall. So they would have to go on a tremendous run. And not only are those 3 teams we mentioned in front of them, but the Rainbow Warriors from Hawaii are in front as well. The Bows are 6-6.
I'm not going to say that.
Hawaii?
Yeah, because you did it on purpose.
No,
because you know I
that's
can't.
how you say it.
I can't say it that way.
I'm trying to pay my respects. That's how
Hawaii
says it. Hawaii. Come on now. There's been a Hawaii flavor in recent years with this program at Oregon State. Look at KJ Harrison. What a great career he had at Oregon State, now in the minor leagues. Slugging first baseman, an all-conference player for Oregon State. There's the strike.
Not many teams lose 3 number 1 draft picks. Caden Grenier, Nick Madrigal, Trevor Larnach, and end up being this good again.
And not to mention, we will mention that Luke Heimlich was on the mound and how good he was. The all-time wins leader in Oregon State history. Charging it, underhanding, and the shovel from Jake Harvey for the out. Dante Williams goes to second. They're 2 away.
Up next, the third
and losing their head coach.
They did.
Leaves it up to Nick Quintana, who lasered a single to left his last time. He's 1 for 2 with a walk and a run. Nick Quintana, who's going to be a high draft pick come June.
It's just, I mean, we talked about Jay Johnson. He just loves this kid. Super kid, super student, super person. And I'm still jealous of his hair.
Quintana takes a strike.
I used to have hair like that, though.
Oh, I've seen pictures. Jake Mulholland, his second inning of relief.
Efficient. 25 pitches, 17 strikes.
Fouled off. Irvine, number 50 in the RPI. That's in D1 baseball. That's one behind Cal.
Irvine, they played a schedule. They went on the road this year and swept Rice at Rice.
And we were talking about the WCC. They have 3 teams that are in the top 55 RPI. Pepperdine,
Loyola,
LMU, and BYU, which you alluded to earlier.
And Gonzaga, it has an RPI that was good. I mean, it suffered a little bit the last 3-4 days.
They're at 62. And
Yeah.
we'll see the Zags right here on ESPNU next Friday night as they host
UCF, no? Or USF?
San Francisco, University of San Francisco. Nino Giarratano's club traveling up to Spokane.
I'm going to start practicing that name.
Nino Giarratano.
I just told you I'm going to have to start practicing.
1-2. Quintana takes ball 2. And, well, you got Mark Mactoff down, so you got the other coach. And remember, it's the Zags.
Yeah, that you have schooled me on the Zags. I used to say Zog, and then that was fixed. Kicked me out of the booth until I got it right.
Can't come back until you say it correctly.
I don't mess it up at all anymore.
I shamed you.
Well, it's just easier. Just call them the Zags.
So Gonzaga hosting USF next Friday night. Great ballpark up there that Gonzaga has in Spokane as Quintana lays off and the count is run full.
Well, these Beaver fans, I mean, they will tell you.
They're on every pitch.
Yeah, they're great baseball fans. They really are.
Close to 4,000 again, 3,931. And this is game 2 of a doubleheader. Biggest crowd of the season tonight. It's gotten a little chilly as this evening has progressed. As Quintana draws a walk and Arizona has 2 on.
It's gotten colder. Not chilly, it's gotten colder. Now, chili would help when it gets colder to eat.
Cameron Cannon has walked twice tonight coming up. Fans are bundled up.
We still have to order with Chef Larry. We have a gourmet chef down there.
What are you waiting for?
Waiting for you to tell me what you want.
Food. I don't care. So here's Cameron Cannon. Big opportunity if Arizona's going to get back into the ballgame. Here's a chance. They had a huge opportunity last inning. They couldn't cash in. Cannon hits it sharply on one hop to short. Bobbled by Andy Armstrong. Gets the force at second. Goes to Jake Harvey as Nick Quintana is forced. Stretch time. Time to stand and stretch. In Corvallis, we head to the bottom of the 7th inning. 8-3 Beavers.
The NBA playoffs rolls on tomorrow with a couple of Game 4s on ABC and the ESPN app. Celtics Pacers at 1 p.m. Eastern. Then it's Warriors Clippers. NBA Countdown gets it all started at 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific.
Warriors going to win?
Yes, they are.
I agree. New pitcher, it's Nate Brown for the Wildcats. A junior from Heartland, Wisconsin. And a transfer from Madison Community College comes in. Third pitcher for the Wildcats,
Where do you think
Avery Weems went an inning.
Where do you think Heartland, Wisconsin is at?
It's in the heartland.
Oh, boy. That is lazy.
Andy Armstrong leads off the home seventh. And the shortstop, 0 for 2 tonight with a walk. Want to know the count. But I was going to deliver my nugget.
Go ahead.
That if you add up the number of national championships
yes.
between the SEC,
the
ACC, and the Big 12, it's still not as many as the Pac-12 has won.
Really?
Yes. The Pac-12 has won 29 national championships. And there are 14 schools that have won multiple national titles. 6 of them reside in the Conference of Champions.
Bill Walton would be proud.
He did the research. I'm just
no
kidding.
Chance.
I wouldn't say no chance, but I'm just kidding. Armstrong went around, tried to hold up at a pitch running in. When you look at both schools in the Bay Area, Cal and Stanford have won multiple titles. Your alma mater was on the field tonight, Arizona.
Arizona State.
USC has won the most of any school. And Oregon State has won 3. On one bounce at second, Justin Wiley makes the play. And there's one out here in the last of the 7th inning. And Kyler McMahon coming up. And speaking of those national championship days, look at that hair and mustache, Wes.
Oh, for goodness sakes.
Wow.
You guys sabotaged me. You know, Rox, I told you, we ate at lunch today, and I told Rox, I know you have something planned, and you said, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And there it is.
Those pictures were awesome.
And now you wonder.
Ask Olivia, our producer. Liv, can we see those again?
I should have been a model, obviously. But
I got to see these pictures again.
But I guarantee you there's people looking at that, and then they're looking at me now and say, what happened? Just what happened? And I don't blame you, because I got to look at myself every day.
McMahon 0 for 2 with a walk and a run. Nate Brown pitch fouled away. Here is the national champion, Wes Clements. Now is that at the airport in Tucson when you guys came home with the title?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's one of my best buddies, Jeff Morris, is right behind me. He's not too thrilled. I got
then
the
you're
one
getting
thing.
All the attention.
Yeah.
So great. What was Tito? What was Francona looking like back in those days? Because he's like you now.
Yeah, well, no, my head's better than Tito's. 100%.
Rolled over the mound. Behind second, sliding stop, and slips out of the hand of Cameron Cannon. That should be an infield hit for Kyler McMahon. And I would say he's like you now. Terry's bald as well.
Right.
Back to the top of the order, and Preston Jones.
Well, I'm not so sure, Rox, that sometimes this turf doesn't get wet, and it looks like Cannon just can't get a handle on it. As you mentioned, that it's gotten colder here.
And we did have some rain earlier today. It wasn't supposed to rain. It rained last night. That's why they played a doubleheader today. As last night's game was postponed here in Corvallis, as Jones takes a strike. Home run for Preston Jones back in the 4th. So they played game 1 of the double dip at 2 o'clock today, and they played through some rain. That game did play uninterrupted, but there was some heavy rain that came down for a little while today. I know it does rain occasionally up here in the Northwest. I don't know if you've heard.
It does. It does.
1 strike pitch. Runner bluffs going.
Sometimes it snows, too, just so give you a heads up.
Sometimes it's sunny also. Like it was for a little while today as well.
I will tell you the majority, what is it? Wouldn't you say the majority of every time we've been up here has been immaculate weather?
The weather's been great.
Just been unbelievable.
Let's keep in mind, we've been here for the postseason quite a bit as well.
Mm-hmm.
And in June, the weather here has been spectacular. Move to first. Leaning was McMahon. He gets back to first base. A3 Oregon State as the Beavers with 3 runs in the first and 6th innings and single runs in the second and the fourth. Arizona single runs in the first, 4th, and 5th. 12 hits for Oregon State tonight. Nate Brown another move to first, and back is McMahon. Ball and a strike on Preston Jones. As Oregon State starting a heavy right-handed batting lineup tonight as the lefty Andrew Nardi made the start for Arizona. Down low.
But on a national perspective, you know what team I'm intrigued by? Georgia. They've had a solid year, and Scott Strickland has done a great job with that club, but I'm intrigued with that club out of the SEC. Of course, Tim Corbin on an annual basis does a great job with Vanderbilt.
I got to see 2 Big 12 teams go at it last week. Steve Rodriguez, Baylor Bears. They knocked off as a balk is called on Brown. And McMahon will get second base. And Jay Johnson is not happy. He's coming out to bark at Alex Ortiz, the first base umpire.
Well, you can't do in pro ball. You can't do this at all. And he's telling him to go back. We're going to take a look at it right here. I'm going to defer to you on that one because he gets his right.
Did he move before he made the spin? Was there a little twitch there with the left leg?
Well, his upper body appears to move before his feet do. And ideally, listen, if this was pro ball here, Rox, Jay would get thrown out because Jay Johnson is frustrated. It's been a long weekend up here. We're going to get another look at it right here.
Watch the left leg before he makes the spin and move to first base.
Yeah, there's your balk right there. Good eyes, Rox. I would have caught that if I could see.
See, I'm not.
You can go all the way back to Brandon McKay, superstar that he had on the mound. But you talked about the Big West. Santa Barbara goes in there and knocks him out. And then the next year, you were there. You brought him all that luck. Cal State Fullerton.
Thomas Eshelman was unbelievable in that Super Regional for Cal State Fullerton.
I think it shocked everybody. It didn't shock Rick Vanderhook, but it shocked everybody. Really? He's going to throw again?
Runners at the corners, 1 out. Infield moves to double play depth for Jake Harvey, who squares and unable to hang on to the pitch. Behind the play is Dyer, and it's ball 1. Jake Harvey has singled twice tonight. He's 2 for 4. Scored a couple of runs. He's stolen a base. Now Matthew Dyer coming out to give some signals to the defense. Crowd getting a little frustrated and restless with Arizona in the field.
Well, Dyer's going out there to let his defense know what are they going to do if the runner at first takes off with 1 out. In this situation here, you either eat it or throw through and have your middle infield read.
Runner goes as Jones gets second base easily. 2-0. And a steal for Jones, who was running on the pitch. Second and third now with 1 out, and Arizona forced to bring the infield in one more time. So mentioning the national titles before, 29 for the Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's the next closest conference championships?
No.
The Big 12 has 10.
Texas.
It's 19 behind.
See the runner in scoring position. Arizona 1 for 10. They've had a lot of opportunities tonight, and for a great offense, very surprising that they've been so bad tonight with runners in scoring position.
With Washington reaching Omaha last year in the College World Series, that made all 11 teams in this league have reached the College World Series. 3-0 to Harvey.
Well,
and it's a strike, and Brown has to go after Harvey because Rutschman's looming on deck.
Who?
Adley Rutschman.
Oh, it was a joy. I worked at regional with Washington, the super regional with Fullerton, and you watched the last 3 innings of that thing. I mean, that's just pure excitement. Hank Lafort left the yard, and I thought it was over, and so did everybody else.
How about Fullerton in the regional round at Stanford with Jumbo Chamberlain?
The shot heard around the world.
Backhanded by Dyer. They're loaded for Rutschman. And speaking of Dyer,
yes,
it's turned Dyer for
it has.
Nate Brown.
Well, the Wildcat staff has struggled the entire year, close to a 6 ERA, and we're kind of seeing why tonight.
Adley Rutschman is driven in 2 tonight, an RBI double in the 6th. Ripped a double into the left field corner. So here is Rutschman. Is he the leader in the clubhouse right now for the Golden Spikes this year?
You know, there's a lot of candidates out there, but coming into the season, he's obviously the preseason favorite, and he hasn't let anybody down, right? I mean, leading the nation in on-base percentage, leading the Pac-12 in hitting over 420.
And does it also from
both sides,
being the catcher and the elite catcher, and why he's widely considered the #1 prospect for the Major League Draft in June. Switch hitting catcher with power, hits for average, and he calls an unbelievable game. And there's his ball 1, a breaking ball.
And this is not to overlook Shea Langoliers from Baylor.
And he had to deal with an injury and the broken hamate.
He did, but we had him last year in the regional. How impressive is he?
He's terrific. Just saw him last weekend again. And the reigning Golden Spikes Award winners in this conference, Andrew Vaughn.
And folks, I happened to see him last night, Andrew Vaughn at UCLA.
How about the ball he hit last night?
He hit a ball last night, folks, that ended up by a barn in a shed behind 2 fences. And I'm telling you.
He actually cleared the San Gabriel Mountains with it last night.
Christmas.
I mean, he had to run that one by LAX air traffic control, how far he hit it. And how high he hit it. And now Brown's in danger of walking in a run. 3-0 on Rutschman. Bases loaded for Oregon State.
Give him the green. It's tough, isn't it? Tough.
It's Adley Rutschman, so
no,
there's a strike.
Listen, if the score is 5-3, yeah, maybe.
A 5-run lead, bottom of the 7th.
Yeah, just.
Fouled off, and the count is run full as Brown trying to battle back here.
Was it? That's a little tardy right there. But the great hitters are able to make adjustments inside at bats. He's a little tardy.
Bases loaded with 1 out, and Brown steps off.
I bet he won't be tardy on this one.
Kyler McMahon at third, Preston Jones at second base, and Jake Harvey, the runner at first for the Beavers. Here it comes. And it's ball 4, and Rutschman is drawn a walk, forcing a run. 3 driven in for Adley Rutschman tonight, and a 9-3 lead for Oregon State. Visit to the mound for Jay Johnson.
Now, that's a tough year for Jay. We talked about Jay. First 3 years at Arizona, he's averaged 40 wins every year, and this has just been a down year for the Cats. You mentioned the injuries early, Rocks, and he was counting on his pitching staff to be much better, obviously, than it is, and it's been a tough year for Jay. Good man. He's a good head coach.
He lost his number one starter, Bryce Collins, the freshman, who is having Tommy John surgery. A couple of everyday players as well out, and a very young team. And that's what he's dealing with right now, and trying to do a lot of teaching and coaching with this group and trying to develop them where next year can get back to his standards of where he feels this program should be.
Well, doesn't it kind of bring the attention to how difficult it is in college baseball to year after year, Rocks, to have a great program, a solid program? When you talk about, we talked about Cal State Fullerton, we talk about this Oregon State program here, but Cal State Fullerton, Rocks, hadn't had a losing year, a losing season in D1 baseball. You just think about that. That's insane.
You think one year they would just hit a bump in the road and have struggles? Well, this could be that year.
Yeah.
They're struggling this year. Ryan Ober, the batter, an RBI single in the sixth. He is 1 for 3 tonight. He's also walked and scored a run. Bases loaded, 1 out. Nate Brown missing down and in.
But one thing, we get Rick Vanderhook next month, don't we, against the Dirtbags?
We do. Speaking of having rough seasons.
Oof.
So unlike Long Beach State this year.
You feel for Troy Buckley. Let go in the middle of the year, which is very odd.
Ground ball to third. Quintana scoops it up, steps in the bag, fires across. Nice dig at first base by Austin Wells. And Brown gets out of it. One more, though, for Oregon State as we head to the 8th. Beavers 9, Cats 3.
The year.
Sports Center tonight after Rockets and Jazz game 3 with Bucci and Anderson. We'll have post-game reactions from James Harden and all the key players. Salt Lake City, plus Heisman hopeful Jake Fromm's highlights, Georgia's spring game, and a full Crawford Khan fight breakdown. Sports Center, 1 a.m. Eastern, 10 Pacific on ESPN and the ESPN app.
Speaking of Georgia, I still can't believe they got beat by Alabama in that game. They had them beat.
Yep.
They had them beat. And had they beat them?
Ryan Holgate leads off the 8th, and he takes strike 1 from Jake Mulholland. As Holgate 0 for 2 with a walk tonight. 6, 7, and 8 for the Wildcats here against Mulholland, who came into the ballgame in the 6th. And Holgate goes back up the middle, a solid single to start the 8th. Hit number 7 for the Wildcats. Leadoff man reaches.
Up next, the left fielder,
For the 4th consecutive inning for Arizona. The problem is they've only scored 1 time.
Yeah, they've scuffled. They've had a lot of traffic on base since inning 1. Just haven't been able to get that key hit. Haven't found the gap.
Blake Paw, the batter, struck out looking as a pinch hitter in the 6th, and he takes strike 1 at the knees. Oh, and 1 the count. Here comes your guy, Wes. Chef Larry.
Oh, boy. Folks, if you haven't been up here to Goss Stadium, Chef Larry.
And he came with an arsenal with him.
He's got his whole family, the whole crew is coming up, but he's one of the best chefs in America.
Wow.
And we are blessed. He's bringing in food here. You know, the SEC does this all the time, right? They got the barbecues and all that stuff. We have Chef Larry out here.
Look at the nachos.
And
they come in like in a baseball bowl.
Unbelievable.
So this Paw goes down on strike.
Wait, there's Chef Larry.
Here's the bowl. Look, there's nachos in here. There's the chili you've been asking for all night.
See, that's chili. Here's a brat. This is a brat.
Okay. Oh, there's the burger.
Yes. What do you call that burger? It's some suicide burger or something?
That
that's
was the
the peanut
butter
butter
one. These are just the regular bacon cheeseburgers.
Boy, are we
Jeff
spoiled
Larry's
up here.
spoiling us.
We are spoiled.
Oh my gosh.
Boy.
Whoa. Crab cocktails? Wes, you struck gold. Chef Larry hooking us up big time. You come to
Boy, I tell you what.
Corvallis and we leave with our bellies full.
We are blessed. We are blessed every time we come up here. Thank you, Chef.
Thanks to Chef Larry. I want to see the Wes Clement special down there one time we come back.
Which would be what?
I don't know,
What
you
would be
tell
the
me.
special?
What would be on your special?
Me?
Yeah. Well, there's your chili nachos here with a little jalapeno peppers on it.
You know what mine would be?
Salsa.
Meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and green beans.
Can you do that at a ballpark, though?
You just asked me.
Well, I'm asking you, can you do it at the ballpark?
Well, why couldn't
Fouled
you?
off the mask of Rutschman.
It would have something to do with
Justin
me.
Wiley at the plate. One out, a runner at first. 9-3 lead for number 4 Oregon State, looking for the sweep. And trying to hang in the race as far as the Pac-12 goes, with logjam at the top. A little bit of separation for the top 3 teams in the league. Good pitch from Mulholland. Catches, Wiley looking.
But we've talked about the recent struggles of the Wildcats, but it doesn't get any easier, Roxy. I mean, the midweek game, we're going to take a look at this breaking ball. Perfectly located on the inside part, but you mentioned the Grand Canyon midweek game for the Wildcats, and guess where they go? They go up to Sunken Diamond to go face Stanford.
And Stanford 13-2. Cardinal have a 1-game lead on Oregon State. And the Beavers are 13-4. And Oregon State has played, after tonight, 3 more league games than the Cardinal have. As the unbalanced schedule in the Pac-12 with 11 teams fielding baseball, Colorado does not have a team. And so every weekend somebody is off from conference play. As Tony Bullard, the batter, he flew out in a deep fly ball to left field in the 6th inning. Came in as a pinch hitter. 2-0 on Bullard. Mulholland's pitch, and this one's skied foul. So,
but you
talk pick up a non-conference series, like for example, you alluded to the series Arizona will play at Penn State. Well, that's during a weekend when there's conference play going on, and somebody's going to be off from league play. And Washington played BYU this weekend. Fouled off.
Just to give you an idea how dominant UCLA, Oregon State, and Stanford have been. Quad 1, Quad 2. Quad 1, top 50 teams. Quad 2, 50 to 100. Oregon State is 24-7 in Quad 1 and 2. UCLA is 26-7 in Quad 1 and 2. Stanford's 20-4 in Quad 1 and 2.
On the ground and pushed into right field by Tony Bullard for a single. Ryan Holgate stops at second, and Arizona has 2 on with 2 out. And the top of the order, and Dante Williams coming up.
With the center fielder, Dante Williams.
Williams has been aboard all 4 times tonight. 2 walks, 2 singles, an RBI, and a run. Mulholland at 46 pitches here in relief. So 2 gone, and Arizona trying to get something going. To just 1 for 10 tonight with runners in scoring position. 2 on, 2 out for the top of the order in Williams. Sophomore from Vegas. Strike to Dante Williams. Good night at the plate. And Williams, who made SportsCenter top 10 last weekend with a brilliant catch.
Well, he's just a sophomore, so you expect him to get better and better.
Chopper over the mound, ranging up the middle and stepping on the bag at second base. Nicely done by Andy Armstrong to retire the side. Arizona strands 2 more. They've left 10 aboard tonight. We head to the bottom of the 8th. 9-3 Oregon State, but sparkling defense.
Well, this is a really solid play. I mean, watch, just a little snow cone there from Armstrong. We're heading to the bottom of the 8th.
NC.
Well, the 6th inning is when this game really turned. Jake Mulholland came out of the bullpen. Arizona, the bases loaded with nobody out. Mulholland gets out of it unscathed and keeps it a 5-3 ball game. And then in the bottom half of the inning, Oregon State rallied for 3.
Well, they did, and Rutschman got the big hit. You're going to see that right down the left field line. Knocks in his partner, and just like that, the Beavers put 2 up. And, you know, Mulholland, I don't know if he's going to continue for the Beavers, but what a luxury, huh? To be able to bring in Jake Mulholland in that situation, and he gets out of it unscathed. And it's just tough to beat this club up here at Goss.
New pitcher is Preston Price, junior from Oceanside, down in Southern California. 4th pitcher used by Jay Johnson and the Wildcats tonight. And Preston Price coming into the ball game. After 1 inning, as Nate Brown gives up a run, walked 3. And Price will deal with Zach Taylor, Elliott Willie, and Jake Ducard. So Price, 6'1", 205-pound junior. His dad was a football player at BYU, Roger. Sister played softball at Sac State. His brother Parker, a soccer player at San Diego. So takes over here for the Wildcats, and Taylor came into the ball game in the 5th inning. It's sacrificed. Grounded out his last time up, and he took strike 1 from Preston Price. Some changes for the Wildcats. Austin Wells now behind the plate. And the catcher, Matthew Dyer, going to first base.
So they just flipped. That's all.
And then the new pitcher. So Wells catching. And Dyer at first. Taylor fouls it off.
You mentioned
the count.
You mentioned Sacramento State. It wasn't too long ago we did a regional up at Cal Poly when Larry Lee had the #1 ranked team a few weeks in that season, and Sacramento State was one of those teams. Did you ever think that Reese Hoskins was going to be
Reese Hoskins
was
on that team?
Was going to be that good.
And that was a regional won by Pepperdine, and Steve Rodriguez was the coach at the time at his alma mater. One, two.
I like
bounced foul.
I like Stevie's pictures from college better than mine. I'll just leave it there.
And like you, Steve Rodriguez, winning a College World Series with Pepperdine in 1992 for former Arizona coach Andy Lopez, who also won a national championship at Arizona. Had a great run at Florida as well. 1-2 on Zach Taylor, leading off the bottom of the 8th inning. Price the pitch, and Preston Price gets the strikeout. And there's one gone here in the last of the 8th inning.
We touched on it just a little bit, Rox, with what happened at Long Beach State with Troy Buckley. It was just surprised everybody. I mean, Troy Buckley in Long Beach, 7 of 9 years he had a winning season. It wasn't too long ago, a couple years ago.
Remember that Super
that
battle with them and Cal State Fullerton?
And playing in Blair Field, of all fields, the iconic Blair Field. I mean, just a tremendous atmosphere. But you just, when that came across the ticker, when Troy Buckley was let go, I think it shocked college baseball.
In mid-season to do it. Elliott Willie, a fly ball to right, but playable. Ryan Holgate settles under it. And Willie, who's had a really good night at the plate, 2 for 5 now. He's driven in 3 tonight. And Jake Ducart, the batter, he's 2 for 3 with a walk. (9-3) Oregon State's looking for the 3-game sweep. And tonight for the Beavers will make it 5 straight wins overall, and they'll be a half game behind the Cardinal. Stanford leading the Pac-12, but it would be conference win number 14, which would be the most. They would go to 14-4 in league play. Stanford's 13-2. Ball lined the other way. Down the line. Into the corner from Ducart, who has a 3-hit night. 13 hits now for Oregon State, and a double for Ducart the other way.
Well, this is pretty stuff. Bottom of the 8th, they're up 9-3, but Ducart, it's a fastball away, and Ducart just hits his ball right down the left field line, exactly what you're supposed to do. And just like that, he's on second base.
Just his second double of the year, and Andy Armstrong coming up here with 2 down. UCLA with a win. They're 11-4 in league play, and the Bruins are 2 games behind Stanford. But keep in mind, UCLA took 2 out of 3 from Stanford on the road.
After losing the first game in that series.
And those are the only conference losses for Stanford, as Stanford has won 4 series in sweeps, including winning at Oregon today. But they swept Utah at home, swept Washington State on the road, and they swept Washington at home last weekend. And they just swept Oregon. They've got Gonzaga coming up Monday night. It's Duncan Diamond. Tough non-conference game.
Pretty good transition for David Esker, huh?
Yeah. Pretty good. And then they got San Jose State. They're playing pretty well this year under Brad Sanfilippo. They had a really good run last year as Brad Sanfilippo took over as the interim for the Spartans, head coach, and they gave him the permanent job, and he's done a really nice job at San Jose State.
He has.
And then Stanford will play Arizona next weekend at Duncan Diamond. May have to go down to Sunken Diamond Monday night to see the Zags play.
You won't.
How do you know that?
Because you won't. There's hockey on or something.
From my house.
There's hockey going on.
Do my scouting, get ready for Gonzaga, who we have next Friday night against San Francisco. Sell me short. Doubt me.
Not doubting, it's just factual.
Not true. Armstrong reaches for it and bounces it foul.
You know where I'm excited to go to? Indiana.
Now you're going back in Big Ten country.
I am. Michigan, Indiana. Indiana, solid club here.
Tracy Smith did at Indiana before moving out to Arizona State. That going at IU. Two and two on Armstrong. The pitch. Chase. And the strikeout for Price, completed at first by Wells. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Preston Price. We go to the 9th. The Wildcats are chasing 6 to avoid the sweep. Corvallis. From Lake Oswego up near Portland.
Well, what do you know? Another ERA and below 2. And somebody's got command. See, 16 2/3, 3 walks, 20 punch-outs.
Tends to happen around here, doesn't it?
It's just a factory.
Matthew Dyer leading off the 9th, followed by Austin Wells and then Nick Quintana for the Wildcats. And there's Verberg with the slider in there for a strike. 4th pitcher used by Oregon State. Grant Gambrell in line for the win. But you can't overlook the performance from Jake Mulholland tonight.
No, he was tremendous, and what a luxury, right, for Bailey to be able to bring in Mulholland in that situation. You already have a lead, but But what he's trying to do is say, that's it, you're done. And that's exactly the job that Mulholland did tonight, and he's done over his stellar career.
And with the juggling of the rotation with Kevin Abel lost for the year, Brandon Eisert has moved into the starting rotation, has done a phenomenal job.
And then Gambrell, he wasn't very sharp tonight, but you can obviously see his stuff. It's all plus stuff.
Brandon Eisert is 7-1 with a 1.88 ERA. He takes over as the number one, going in the Friday night game. So this week, everything in the Pac-12 moved up with Easter Sunday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday this weekend as Dyer cues it foul. And then when you have a guy like Bryce Femmel as your number two, and all that guy does is just win. That dude just wins.
He just gets out. That's all he does.
You look at his stuff, going, "Oh, okay, it's fine."
Well, it's not overpowering. He got great.
Wins.
He has
just wins.
Immaculate command. Changes speeds well.
Two and two, the count on Dyer. And Bryce Femmel, who pitched game one today, got the win. First team all Pac-12 last year, and count has run full on Matthew Dyer. But Bryce Femmel's career record, 32-5. Is that okay?
That's pretty good.
Is that decent?
Yeah. So you played baseball. How'd you do? 32.
A couple of 10-win seasons. As Dyer draws a leadoff walk to start the ninth. So for the fifth consecutive inning, Arizona has gotten the leadoff guy on.
Well, Rox, as we look at Coach Bailey there and you see his assistant, there was a big vote this week that did not pass. And the vote had to do with women's softball and men's baseball to have the option, folks, not the mandate. It's not a mandate, to allow schools to have the option to have a third paid assistant. And, Rox, the results, not good.
It did not pass, although the Pac-12 as a conference voted in favor of the rule to allow that third assistant to become a paid assistant if the school chooses to do so.
Yeah, it's just from a rational common sense, it just doesn't make sense to vote no. Again, it's not a mandate. It was an option for all schools to be able to do it if you want.
On the ground left side off the bat of Wells. Picked up. Jake Ducart goes to second to Harvey to get the force on Matthew Dyer. There's one out in the ninth, and Nick Quintana coming up.
But if you're not familiar with assistant coaches, that third assistant, Roxy, works as hard as anybody. And he makes his income on off-season camps and things like that. And it's a tough life. And you got to be a lifer to go through this and not be a paid third assistant. And it's a
volunteer assistant is what it is.
It's heartbreaking. And these guys have families. They have to support them. And it's just it's heartbreaking that it was not passed.
And the surprising thing is, and we'll get the official tally later next week, but some good reporting by Kendall Rogers at D1Baseball.com, and a couple of the power conferences voted it down.
They did.
The Big 12, the Big 10. These are two leagues, and you want to be perceived as leaders in power conferences in this sports where baseball and softball are critical, and if it doesn't pass in your league, you got to answer to the rest of the country.
Well, and you mentioned the Big 10 and the Big 12, right? Well, they're not hurting as far as revenue goes, are they? Last time I checked. Again, it's just a head shaker.
The SEC voted unanimously to approve it.
Pac-12 passed.
Pac-12 passed it. By reports, the West Coast Conference passed it. One and one in Quintana. Did he hold up?
Well, it doesn't matter if he holds up. That ball's right down the middle, Rocks. I mean, that ball split the plate. I know my eyes aren't that well, but didn't it look like it's – we're going to see. You tell me, Rocks.
I thought it might have been low.
Low? No. That ball's not low.
2-1 in Quintana.
All it's got to do is cross the plate as a strike.
1 for 2 tonight with a run. He's walked twice. Takes ball 3.
Think the game would be different if they actually called the strike zone by the rule book, Rox?
You want robot umpires?
No, I just asked a question.
I just asked a question to you.
Oh, all you could do is just tell the umpires to call it by the book. People want to speed up the game, just call the strike zone by the book.
Big rip by Quintana. It runs full now on the Arizona third baseman.
And that pitch right there is a perfect example. If that ball was taken by Quintana, that would have been a ball called. For the strike, the rules in the book on what a strike is, that should be called a strike.
Full count and Quintana with one down. The pitch. Quintana, liner to center, base hit, drops in front of the center fielder McMahon. Stopping at second is Wells.
Next, the shortstop.
And Arizona with 2 on, and Cameron Cannon coming to the plate.
You know, Rox, we talk a lot about Quintana and how much Jay Johnson loves this kid, but, you know, Quintana is the type of kid that, yes, they're chasing 6, and yes, 1 out in the 9th inning, but he doesn't want to get out. And this is who this kid is. He's going to compete until they tell him the game's over. And you love that about him. And yes, I'm still jealous about the hair.
So Quintana's reached base, last 4 plate appearances. Cannon fouls it straight back. So 1 out in the 9th, and Oregon State trying to close out a 9-3 ball game from Arizona and looking for a sweep of this series. Since Jay Johnson took over the Arizona program 3 years ago, these have been the 2 winningest programs in the Pac-12.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly Oregon State winning the national title last year, and Arizona in Johnson's first year getting to the national championship series.
What an amazing job, right? I mean, Jay Johnson takes over, and it's a storied program, and I'm here to tell you, it is. And just like that, he gets the Cats in Omaha, winning game 1 of the final against Coastal Carolina. You have to win 1 of the next 2 games, and you're the national champion.
Swing and a miss. 1-2. One ball, 2 strikes, 1 down. Wells the runner at second, Quintana at first. Mitch Verberg on in relief, trying to finish this one out, and it's fouled back by Cannon.
And had Coastal been playing against anybody else except my Wildcats, I would have been rooting for Coastal. Because I told you, I loved that team. They just played baseball.
1-2 again. Cannon, swing and a miss. Berber gets the strikeout. And there's 2 gone in the 9th, and Oregon State 1 out away from sweeping Arizona.
Well, it's a 90-mile-an-hour fastball, but its location is what makes it difficult. Perfectly located right there.
Ryan Holgate, the last hope to keep it going for the Wildcats.
How about these fans that stuck it up for a doubleheader?
Close to 4,000 here tonight.
It's still a little cold. Dare you.
Is that chili on your nachos?
It's not my nachos. They're your nachos, and that is chili. Has nothing to do with the weather.
The pitch. Swing and a miss by Holgate. Ryan Holgate 1 for 3 with a run tonight.
When the weather app on the phone describes the temperature as chilly, then I'll accept it.
Oh and 1. Mitch Verberg. 1 strike pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike.
These fans are the best, aren't they? Every pitch is a strike in their mind.
Here comes the 1-1. 1-2. Ball and 2 strikes on Ryan Holgate.
I'm just laughing. Did you hear that guy scream out there? Are you flipping a coin out there, Blue?
Verberg, the 4th pitcher used by the Beavers tonight. Oregon State looking for win number 28 and trying to go to 14-4 in league play and move within a half game of the Cardinal. Is Stanford sitting atop the Pac-12? Here comes the 1-2. Swing and a miss. Ball game. Oregon State sweeps Arizona. And the Beavers, a 9-3 win. And Oregon State a half game back of first place Stanford in the Pac-12.
Well, we've become accustomed to this is going to be the result. When you come up to Goss Stadium, this team is obviously one of the best in the country, but you get a pretty good idea why. I mean, they just bring arm after arm out of that pen. Again, we talked about not the best hitting club, but boy, can they pitch. And this Arizona club came in there with the hopes of getting 1 win at minimum, and they could swing the bat. And this Beaver staff just shut them down, Rox.
And they had chances tonight. They strand 12 runners. Preston Jones homer tonight in a 13-hit attack for Oregon State. Grant Gambrell gets the win as